My name is Karen Gardner and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Community Health Center of Cape Cod. Since we started in 1998 as the Falmouth Free Clinic, we've grown in response to our community's need for affordable, quality care for all. Today we provide medical, mental health, and dental services in Falmouth, Mashpee, and Bourne, and we're proud that more than 15,000 adults and children entrust their care to the health center. Learn more by visiting our website or by stopping by any of our offices.
Hi, I'm Eric Azendorf of Sound Financial Advisors at Janney Montgomery Scott in Falmouth. I've been helping people plan for their retirement for more than 30 years. I would like you to ask yourself what retirement means to you, and is it the same one you visualized 5 or 10 years ago? Whether you're thinking retirement or you're already retired, it's time to take a fresh look at your resources. Janney's Retirement Income Evaluator, our new innovative tool, gives you a clear picture of your current retirement situation. The tool lets you see various retirement scenarios, helps to confidently prepare a plan, determines your potential retirement income, and provides solutions to how to make it last for your lifetime.
Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach with ramp and dock, free rowboats and paddle boats, oversized heated outdoor pool and kiddie pool. You'll enjoy our attractive waterfront and beachside accommodations. So visit us online at gogreenharbor.com.
And welcome to the December 8th, 2014 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we supposed to do that vote on matrix? We can do it when we do matrix, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you may have noticed that there's a slight change in the agenda tonight, and I'm going to ask Wayne Lamson, who's the General Manager of the Steamship Authority. Welcome you, Wayne, to give us a report on steamship activities.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chairman, Board of Selectmen. Kathy Norton can't be here tonight, so I'm pinch hitting for her, and there's just a few things I'd like to cover. One is the new parking lot that's being constructed on Thomas B. Landis Road.
Yeah.
The new parking lot on Thomas B. Landis Road. That contract was awarded to Lawrence Lynch, and it's about $5.1 million contract, so it's nice when the low bidder is a local company. The project is expected to be substantially completed by Memorial Day weekend next year, so that's moving along very nicely. The feasibility study for the Woods Hole Terminal reconstruction project is completed. Our board is going to be taking up that report, that draft report, at their next meeting. Was scheduled for tomorrow. It's now been rescheduled for Thursday because of the weather, and some of the board members may not be able to get from the islands to the meeting. So, that report will be taken up on Thursday, and the report kind of recounts the process that we went through, that the architects went through. Berteau and I Works was the firm that was hired to do the feasibility study. We worked with the Woods Hole Community Working Group. I think we had 3 meetings with the community to look at different alternatives, and in a collaborative effort, I think we came up with a preferred alternative that most everybody can agree to the concept of. So the next phase will be the design and permitting phase, which will probably take up to 18 months. We need permits from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, from the Falmouth Conservation Commission, so that process will be ongoing for the next 18 months or so. We're also working on relocating the authority's administrative offices. There will no longer be room in Woods Hole for the general office space down there. And so we're currently looking at locations on Palmer Avenue, near the Palmer Avenue parking lot, on Gifford Street, and up on 2 parcels that we own up on Research Road off of Thomas P. Landis Road in Falmouth. So we're hoping to keep it in Falmouth.
Oh, we are too, Wayne.
The other thing is the replacement vessel for the governor. As you probably know, the vessel is going to be named the MV Woods Hole, and the cost estimate was $38.3 million. We received 2 bids last week. The low bid was $36.4 million, and the other one was about almost $41 million. So it came in just to either side of the original estimate. The shipyard is Conrad Shipyard in Morgan City, Louisiana. We kind of thought there might be a shipyard down in the Gulf Coast that would, and the other bid came from a shipyard in Florida. So we're expecting to award that contract on Thursday at the board meeting on Thursday, and the vessel is expected to be delivered in the spring of 2016. And the cost of that project will be financed totally with the issuance of steamship bonds, probably in January. That will go out to the market with a bond issue in January. So those are kind of the highlights, some of the things that we're currently working on. Any
Questions? Doug?
I have 2 parking questions. No, I'm not sure this is exactly the right time, but you're here and I'll ask the question anyway. When I understand we have a lease that is coming up for the parking lot in Woods Hole, it is town-owned property and leased to the Steamship Authority. Do we have any understanding of where that is heading in negotiations for that lease?
No, I was planning to send Julian a letter to suggest that maybe we start those negotiations and see what the town is looking, what their objectives are, and what the Steamship Authority's goals might be.
My second one had to do with the Palmer Ave lot. Certainly, as I looked at the plans a year and a half ago, what ended up happening was way more parking than I was ever envisioning had been presented to us. It is now, I guess, a done deal, but it seemed like the whole thing was clear-cut in a way that I just had not envisioned in the presentation we were given last fall. Is there any potential, if there is going to be more parking in Thomas B. Landers, that some of those spots could be used for municipal parking? That we could come up with something, maybe this again is a part of the negotiation for the lease down in Woods Hole.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we're looking at possibly putting the administrative building there, which would be a loss of some parking spaces at Palmer Avenue, potentially, so.
And is there's still fairly extensive landscaping that's moving forward to really hide more of that parking, is that correct?
We're hoping to do more. I think we fell a little short, I felt we did, we hired a landscaper, an architect to come up with some plantings, and I don't think I think we need to supplement that in the spring.
That's certainly what the feeling I think a lot of people is also.
Becky?
Thank you.
Would you talk a little bit about the Jake break? And as you are talking for Kathy this evening, she was the shaker and the mover behind that. And it was one of the first things she talked about after this board appointed her. And she's just thinking about that noise on Woods Hole Road. And I think that you want to just kind of pick that up and tell the rest of that story?
Well, I think it just miraculously showed up one day, the signs on Woods Hole Road. And
did you think that was like trick or treat or something? Or
something
you
like
thought
something
you
like
thought
that.
It was real?
Something like that.
I just know that was her pet project. And she talked about it immediately, about how much noise you have to endure on the Woods Hole Road. And people were looking for Jake break signs, and they're kind of scarce, and we're really pleased there's one on Woods Hole. Maybe there'll be a few more.
Just quickly, if you could just touch on accommodations for bicycles in terms of the new plan?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot better coming down the bike path and onto the Steamship Authority's property, and then terminating down at the corner of Luscombe, where there'll be a little park and bike racks down at the bottom. So they won't be crossing over Railroad Ave in front of where the old gas station was, which is a dangerous situation, and people are going everywhere from there. They don't know whether to go right or left. So it will be clearly marked, and there'll be a path that will go down to the park at the waterfront.
Is it possible to give a brief description of where the building plan is? I mean, I was involved in meetings here earlier when it was, I think we had A, B, C, D, and E even. Yeah. One was a two-story building, one was a two-story building that was almost all the way back by the bridge. I mean,
it's kind of situated where the parking lot is now. Maybe where the Bonanza buses line up,
okay.
And the Peter Pan buses.
There's a little building there about there.
And then the staging for the vehicles will be behind that, so that we're going to try to get the building as close to the water as possible so people don't have to walk as far to get from the building to the vessels and vice versa. So that seemed to be the best plan, the concept plan, and so we're going to work around that. There's a lot of little details that still have to be worked out.
Just on that point, I just want to compliment the Steamship Authority in terms of working with all of the folks who had suggestions. I know that was one of Kathy's suggestions, not just in terms of people with disabilities, but older people, young children, trying to minimize the walk and the waiting time and the standing time. I think that's sort of a mutual benefit to the steamship as well. So it just it was nice to see the organization really respond to all, and particularly the Woods Hole comments and collaboration that you have with those folks. It's it's pretty rare and it's much appreciated.
Thank you.
I wanted to comment on that too, Wayne, and to thank you for working with the community in Woods Hole. I know that there are 3 members of the business group there that have been working with you, and members of the community, the Woods Hole Community Association. And I think we always end up with better plans when we work with the people who are affected by those plans. And it takes more time and it's not always easy, but in the end, I think we have a better product at the end of that. So I thank you for that also. And I wanted to comment on Kathy Norton. Kathy has been our representative to the Steamship Authority for a past year or so, and wasn't able to come tonight, unfortunately. And for many years, people who live on the Woods Hole Road have been bothered by Jake brakes. Some of you don't know what they are. They're brakes on trucks that make a lot of noise. And the Woods Hole Road has some hills and some valleys for the trucks heading down that way, and it's been a real problem for years and years. And because the road is actually managed by the state, it's a state road rather than a town road, and only the state could put the signs up, and it's very, very difficult to oftentimes get the state to do something like putting up a sign. It seems pretty easy, but that's probably pretty low on their list of things to do. And Kathy worked very hard on that when she became our representative. So it's a real accomplishment for the people who live on the Woods Hole Road. And I can see Mr. Day back there. Roger knows very well what I'm talking about because he lives on the Woods Hole Road. And now those signs are up, and hopefully those trucks will refrain from using their jake brakes, and will make life a lot easier, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning when they're racing down there to get that early morning ferry, and that they won't slam on the jake brakes and wake up everybody in the neighborhood.
I think just an important thing for people to realize from a safety point of issue, the jake brake is designed for when you're have inclines, either going up or down, making sure you have the ability to use the engine to brake the truck. To use the jake brakes here is not necessary. Using regular brakes uses the brakes up quickly, so it's an expense to the truck owner to use regular brakes instead of the jake brakes, but it's something that the state is saying the noise is important enough, and there is no degradation in safety because of that.
So the people of Woods Hole and the Board of Selectmen thank Kathy for all of her efforts. And thank you, Wayne, for coming tonight.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I ask
sure.
Mr. Lamson
Sure,
one question?
absolutely.
Just out of curiosity, Wayne, you mentioned the new ferry that's going to be arriving in 2016. And I'm just curious how it differs from the existing ferries generally. I mean, obviously, it's a much newer version. I just wondered if functionally it's significantly different, maybe in capacity or in the way it handles passengers and vehicle traffic, that type of thing. Just curious.
You know, a little larger than the Governor, more passenger amenities than what the Governor has. We're going to be able to use the vessel on both routes all year. I mean, this weekend with the Christmas stroll, we were moving boats around, and if we had something like the MV Woods Hole that we could have switched, it would have been a lot easier rather than having the Governor tied up in Fairhaven for the winter. So it's going to give us more flexibility. About 50 cars, so about the same size as the Martha's Vineyard, or if you know that vessel, and but it's going to have a wide open freight deck so that it can be used during the week to carry trucks back and forth, and then on weekends when there aren't as many trucks, we'll be able to carry the automobiles and families going back and forth on weekends.
I was curious also, I think this weekend you ran into a little bit of a problem with the wind and the waves in terms of some of your scheduled runs. Will the new ship be is it better designed to handle some challenging conditions than the ones you've used in the past?
That was the idea, was to try to run as many trips as we can, try to maintain service as long as we can. And then it becomes a safety issue with passengers and crews when we have to stop.
How about the propulsion system? That's my last question. I know you're talking about some adjustments in the way the docks potentially operate, and the propulsion system pretty much the same as you've had in the past, or a little bit different?
It's larger. It's going to have some reserve power, so that in heavy wind and sea conditions, I think we'll make out a little better than some of the vessels we currently have in the fleet. So that's why I'm optimistic that this vessel will work out for us.
Excellent. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Okay, now we're going to move to public comment. We're back to the beginning, sort of the agenda. And anyone who wishes to comment on any item that is not on the agenda, and you have 2 minutes under public comment. Yes? Get to the microphone, please. And just state your name for the record.
My name is Jessica Edgar, and I'm a senior at Falmouth High School. So, since kindergarten, I've been very involved in the Falmouth School's music program, and music has become my passion. All 3 of us here today received all-state recommendations for the orchestra and chorus, and so we're very involved in our school's music program. So, I've discovered through my own experiences just how important music and the arts are in education. So it may be a fact that the arts are by law core subjects, but music and art are not currently treated like core subjects in the Falmouth schools. Neither music nor art have department heads, and the programs have been struggling because of that. Without a department head to fight for them, many of my friends could not fit the music classes that they wanted to take into their schedules because there was no one there to represent music when the guidance counselors met to discuss scheduling. All of the other subjects were represented in that meeting. I've been wanting to take music theory since I entered high school, but it is not offered. I got together a group of kids, Corinne being one of them, but there was no money to certify the teacher to teach that class at an AP level. I wanted to take it on virtual high school, but now after budget cuts, I am not able to take it unless I pay for it myself, and that is a large sum of money. Additionally, my art teacher has to write grants almost every time she needs to even basic supplies like paintbrushes. On her own time, my art teacher wrote a grant that funded one of the most memorable experiences I had in high school, which was an interdisciplinary project that combined art, English, and science together. On Friday, I am accompanying the elementary school choruses in the concert where all of them come together to perform at Falmouth High School. And I know that every music teacher had to go out of their way to communicate with one another to organize such a big performance. They were already overscheduled within their own schools, so without a department head, the programs lack the organization that they need and also the publicity that they deserve. I know that every student that is involved with the music and art programs is dedicated to their continuation because of how much they love it. I'm doing my senior project on the positive effects of music education on cognitive development, and am inspired to push for the continued musical opportunities from kindergarten to 12th grade. I want the programs that have given me my most wonderful memories in the Falmouth schools to be able to organize themselves properly so that the students can have as many opportunities as possible. So I urge you to designate the funds the funds needed for music and art department heads in the Falmouth Public Schools, and to make our arts programs as strong as they can possibly be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I also have letters from the public.
Is there anyone else? Yes. And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ginger Kroom. I'm a town meeting member in Precinct 5. I'm also the parent of a 3rd grader and a kindergartner at North Falmouth Elementary School.
Could you just stop for a minute?
Yes.
Would somebody please ask the people outside not to speak? Because thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm here tonight to present a petition to you regarding restoration of school funding. The petition reads as follows. I request that the town of Falmouth restore music, art, accelerated programs, science, and teaching assistants that have been cut from the school budget over the last 5 to 10 years from Falmouth Public Schools. I'm one of approximately 20 people who have collected signatures over the past few weeks regarding this petition. We've collected over 1,000 signatures from Falmouth residents, taxpayers, and parents and grandparents of school children. The purpose of this petition is to let town leaders know that residents want to see school programs restored in the short term, meaning within the next budget cycle and not over a 5-year period. We think that Falmouth has a good school system, but we think that Falmouth could have a great school system. We recognize that no one has all the answers regarding how to pay for restoration of these school programs, but we'd like to work with you, the town leaders, to make sure this happens in the short term. With the continued economic recovery and the increase in local revenues, we ask that the town prioritize funding for schools, including restoration of lost programs and services. We want you to continue to be proud of our community and our schools. Thank you for your time and consideration of this request.
Thank you.
Can I present this to you?
Anyone else? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Virginia Land McGuire. I have a 1st grader and a 2nd grader at Mullen Hall, and I'm also here to speak to school funding. I'm here to ask our town to reinstate resources to the schools that have been eliminated bit by bit over the last decade. I've only been with the Falmouth Public Schools for 3 years now, but I have never in all of that time met a teacher or administrator who is not working at 150% capacity. They do an amazing job with what our town gives them. But I know a public school can do more for its children than Falmouth does. I want our town to prioritize funding the schools at the highest level. I'd like to see us put resources back so that Dr. Gifford can put programs and positions back, including librarians, science teachers, programs for accelerated learners, and those that we just heard about. I'm a parent, so I may be biased, but I think attracting and retaining young families should be a priority for the Cape. Any family who's thinking of moving here will look at the data. Today, they'll see that Falmouth devotes less of its budget than any other school on the Cape to its schools. And they'll see that our schools are very good, but again, not great the way that they could be. These data alone, I think, have the potential to turn away young families that we all know we desperately need. And back to me, I want my kids to have the best education that our town can give them, and I know that we are close, but we're not there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes? Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Corinne McGillicuddy, and I'm a senior at Falmouth High School, like Jesse. And I'm here to talk about how music has enriched my life as a student at Falmouth High School. So I've received an excellent education from the Falmouth public school system, but I definitely believe that a large part of that has been due to my involvement in music, which has been present throughout the school system, but I believe could definitely be improved. So I recently applied to a few colleges, and I'm going to start to hear back from them soon. And I've realized from the whole application process how much that music means to me, because a lot of times one doesn't necessarily appreciate things in one's life until you have to write an essay about it. And I've really I now understand how much music has enriched my personality and how great it's been to me, and how it's caused me to meet so many new people. I've been fortunate enough through the Falmouth Music Department to be able to audition for various music festivals, and I've gotten to meet new people that I wouldn't be able to meet who share interests in music like me, and a lot of the same intellectual interests through these programs. But so I've had a lot of opportunities from Falmouth to take music courses, but again, not necessarily at the highest level due to scheduling conflicts that have been underrepresented by the music department. And I've also, I've used my music for a lot of community service opportunities. Like I play the flute for a local nursing home once a month, and I played at the Falmouth Commodores baseball games, the national anthem, and I play at my church a lot, but I've had to seek out all of these opportunities on my own for the most part. And I think that it's the rewards of like playing for community service and seeing the residents of a nursing home light up when they can hear your music is like such a great reward. And I think that more people in the Falmouth public school system should be able to understand that and learn that. And I think that with the department head activities like these could be organized, and I think that it's really necessary for these to be organized. And so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Hello, my name is Cameron Costello. I'm 16 years old, a junior at Falmouth High School, and the vice president of the Falmouth High School Instrumental Program. My passion for music began at a young age with the elementary level music classes. I began taking private piano lessons after only 2 years of exposure to music and have been playing for the past 10 years of my life because of those skills that I developed in the elementary classroom. I also have a younger brother, Ryan, who's currently in 7th grade at Lawrence School. However, his elementary school music experience was quite different from mine. Throughout his elementary school years, my brother, more often than not, only had 1 day of music per week. I went through the majority of my 5 years in elementary school with 2 classes per week. And this difference has just changed everything for me, because having that extra day is double the hours when you look at the grand scheme of things, and it's just added so much more to my experience that he may have missed out on. As I said, my brother Ryan is at Lawrence currently, where the musical cuts are also quite prevalent. Not only has the amount of days that students in the band program and chorus program attend class been cut by 33%, but students no longer have the option to be in band or chorus and to attend a standard music class. When I was in 7th grade, I had 90 days of band class, alternating every other day, and 35 days of a standard music class, as the school had been using a somewhat unique pentamester system where students could take all of the different electives that 1 year. But it's still better than the system that my brother has right now, under which he only has 60 days of band class for the entire year and no opportunity to be in a standard music class. That means that I have again received double the amount of hours in a music class when compared to my brother. When I took the standard music class, we were taught guitar, and an experience that I took home and began to expand on. I got a guitar for my birthday that year, and I just added it to the repertoire of instruments that I began playing, which included piano and trumpet at the time. My brother has had no opportunity to learn guitar because of these cuts. These children are being denied experiences that could be potentially life-changing. Multi-talented children and students who may want to be a part of band and chorus, or either one of the groups, and simply be also in a standard music class in order to learn guitar or music technology, aren't able to do these things. Personally, last year I auditioned for and was accepted to both the Honors Wind Ensemble and Honors Jazz Band at Falmouth High School. By taking both classes, I progressed tremendously as a trumpet player. However, this year I was unable to take either of these classes because neither fit in my schedule due to conflicts with advanced placement classes.
I need to tell you you're over your time now, but we'll give you 20 more seconds.
Thank you. Had there been a department head, an issue like mine, which is not exclusive to me, as Jesse and Corinne have had issues like this, along with the countless other students that have been passing through the school system. Had there been a department head, these issues may have been resolved, and it's just very necessary to have someone that, representing the music level classes when scheduling conflicts like this come up. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to get a sense of, are there others who want to speak under public comment still? All right, I'm going to have to stop at the moment because we have a notice public hearing for 7:30, and it's now 7:30. The Falmouth Board of Selectmen, so we will take up public comment after the hearing. The Falmouth Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing under Section 240-77 wetland regulations of the zoning bylaws of the town of Falmouth on Monday, December 8th, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Town Hall, Falmouth, on the application of Toby Lane Association, Inc. for permission to repair and improve a pier that extends approximately 83 feet beyond mean high water into Eel Pond and located at parcel 3A, Nobnaka Trail, East Falmouth. Area affected is Eel Pond. This hearing is held on a remand from the Barnstable Superior Court by mutual agreement of the applicant and the Board of Selectmen. Interested parties may review the file on this hearing at the Selectmen's office. Before we begin, I want to just lay out this issue for the board. This was a hearing approximately over a year ago, as I recall, if not almost 2 years ago. And at the time of the hearing, the board denied the license. And I was on the board at the time and present for the hearing and voted. And the reason that the board voted to deny it was because of a property dispute between the Toby Lane Association and other parties who own land, the A&B Realty Trust. There was a dispute between the two parties about where the property lines were. And at the time, the board was of the opinion that the property dispute had to be resolved before a decision could be made. Barnstable Superior Court has determined not so and has remanded the hearing back. So it is back here tonight as if it were a new hearing, but the board is not to consider the property dispute. That cannot be part of our decision. So we are going to hear the merits based strictly on the merits of the dock. And it's a proposal to repair and improve a dock located in Eel Pond. And for the applicant, Mr. Sabana.
Yes.
Attorney Sabana.
Yes, for the record, Attorney Charles Sabat, representing the Toby Lane Association. And with me tonight, in addition to a representative from the association, is Mike Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, who prepared the plan. And what I'd like to do is just give you an introduction as to what the case is about, and then I'll let Mr. Borselli walk you through the details of the proposed dock and respond to your questions with respect to any engineering or environmental matters. As the chairperson has indicated in her description of the matter before you, this involves a dock that is located on Eel Pond off of Toby Lane in Falmouth. Specifically, it is accessed through and it is located off a lane, a private way known as Nobnaka Lane, which has no vehicle traffic on it, is not developed in any way, simply as a footpath as access from Toby Lane to the pier. I wanted to stress that this pier has been in existence since the 50s. It is a pre-existing pier. I have a pre-existing fear, but this is a pre-existing pier. What I wanted to do, I want to footnote that concept of it being pre-existing. I'll come back to that footnote in a minute. But in any event, the pier pre-exists, and what my clients are proposing to do is to essentially replace the existing pier with an updated pier. And the pier itself there's currently a landward ramp that would run onto a very narrow pier that is about 27 feet, and then there is a ramp that is seasonal. It's put in seasonally, that is 15 feet long, which then leads out to 4 floats, each of which is 6 by 10 feet, and it is an I-shaped pier, float arrangement. And what the people do is that they tie their boats off on either side of that pier. So what the Toby Lane Association proposes to do is to reconstruct the land-based pier, if you will, with a set of stairs, adjust the angle of that pier slightly. It will be the same length, using the same ramp downward, and instead of having 4 floats that are 6 by 10, it will have 2 floats that are 4 by 20 rather, so the same length, but more stability for the people that are using this, make it safer. The end of the dock is now going to have, or the flotation system will have a T float, will be a T shape, That's going to be simply for loading and unloading. It's not going to be a place to tie up. On either side of the pier, there are going to be 3 posts that will be permanent, and these are going to be used to tie off boats. So the intention is that a boat will have its bow tied off to the side of the pier, one of those floats, and the stern will be tied off to one of the posts that's embedded, and that's more or less the arrangement that exists now. The material of the pier that currently exists on the landward end of it is going to be replaced with something that will allow more light to flow through, and therefore it's going to actually be more beneficial for the environmental interests. And so as a result, this is merely an effort to update and make more stable and make a more resilient a pre-existing pier. The second thing I want to emphasize for you is that this is a community pier. This is not one that is owned by an individual. The property is owned by the Toby Lane Association. The Toby Lane Association has approximately 12 members, each of whom will have the right to use the pier and do use the pier and the flotation system on a regular basis. So this really achieves the objective of allowing greater access to the water for a greater number of people, and it's not restricted to one particular homeowner or one particular family. So I would stress that it's a replacement of a pre-existing pier, and it is a pier that will service 12 families. Now, the footnote that I wanted to give you tonight, so that you're not misled or don't have any misunderstanding, is that sometime over the weekend, sometime after the morning of Friday, December 5, somebody dismantled entirely the pier that was in place there and that has been in place there for many years. And we submitted some photographs of that to the town council. Somebody dismantled the pier. We don't know who it is. Certainly nobody with the authority of the association removed the landward ramp and the pier that would have run out to the ramp downward, all of which are now out of the water. There's absolutely nothing left there. It was removed and it was piled up in the picnic area, which I believe is upland. The matter was reported to the Falmouth police on Saturday afternoon after it was discovered. The matter was also reported to the conservation agent today, and I sent an email to the town council to advise her. I just tell you that because I don't want, when I say existing pier, it exists philosophically at this point, but up until Friday night, it existed in reality. And in actuality, it more or less would be a moot point if, in fact, you vote favorably on this petition. And I say that because, in any event, it would be replaced. We would have removed the existing structure and replaced it with the new proposed replacement structure. So if you vote favorably tonight, the point is not particularly germane, but I think you should have the full picture. And it's of great concern to my clients, obviously. The timing is curious, but in any event, that's what occurred. And we've been in contact with the appropriate authorities. So I'll allow Mr. Borselli to address the specifics to the extent that I haven't, and address the engineering, and I'd just like the opportunity to respond in the event that there's any opposition or any comments that are unfavorable.
You have a question for Mr.
I'm not sure who to answer the question. First is just to clarify, I believe it's in the order of conditions. Where will the non-permanent things go during the off-season?
Oh, in the off-season? I'll let Mr. Borselli respond to that.
Yeah, Michael.
I think the question is when they're removed from the water, in other words, at the end of the season.
Right.
Where will they be stored?
Or are they going to be dragged? I assume they will not be dragged across the salt marsh and stored on the salt marsh. I'm pretty sure it's in the order of condition. I just want to get that out there in the public as to what's going to happen to those things.
All right, I'll let Mr. Borselli respond.
And I'll do the second question so we can do the same thing.
Sure.
Just to clarify what kind of boats are going to be tied up here, because I do notice that the water depth for some of these moorings is very, very low, which we find for a rowboat, but for a larger motorboat.
Right.
And I think that's also in the order conditions that these are for Most of these are for smaller boats that will not have a motor.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant as well. We were retained originally to design improvements and obtain the permits necessary to repair and rebuild this dock. Mr. Sabat generally described the work. The Falmouth Conservation Commission reviewed this and issued the order of conditions, which was alluded to by Selectman Jones. And the project in general was an effort to improve things overall such that there'd be more stability and safety for the floating sections, and the floating sections would not necessarily have to be removed. They're pre-manufactured, and the way that they're built, the manufacturer suggests, at least in their documentation, that there's able to resist ice damage and things like that. So the association would reserve the right to either leave them in, or if they chose to haul them just for additional safety, they would be floated to a place that was appropriate, and they'd be hauled and stored in an upland area, not anywhere in the wetland resources that are directly adjacent to this. The concept with the design is to make the places for the small boats a little bit more user-friendly and convenient. The type of boats that will use this facility are smaller skiffs with outboards. I use the term skiff. The maximum length, I think, was a 17 or 18-foot Boston whaler. The other boats are smaller, and the concept is that these are smaller boats that don't draw a lot of water, have outboard motors that have the ability to be lifted. Any larger boats that might come to the facility would go to the end where the T is, which is loading, unloading, where there is sufficient depth. And you could load guests and provisions on and then go out for the day in the boat. If you happen to have a mooring out, you'd use the smaller boat that would be tied here to get to the mooring. So the concept is that the small boats would be tied with the bows perpendicular to the long side of each side of the float. And at the sterns, there are proposals for pipes that would be driven and act as an anchoring position for the stern, so that the boat would be tied from the bow to the float and from the stern to the pipe to keep it from moving side to side and hitting the other boats, and just to keep things in alignment. It's pretty common for these types of community dinghy docks, skiff docks. There are 12 places available, 6 on each side. In the Toberland Association, I think, Mr. Abt could correct me if I'm wrong, manages where the different boats would be on the dock, depending on the type of boat, size, and things. There's a couple other significant improvements, one of which is the main I section, if you will, has historically been fastened by pipes that are installed, jetted in each year, removed. So there's a seasonal installation and removal of these pipes.
Mike, could you show where they would be on that map, if you would?
These are being replaced by piles, is that right?
Yes. Historically, along the old system, they would be fastened by pipes to keep them in place. And they would be along both sides. The new system would have a more permanent anchoring system, and it would be 4 10-inch diameter timber pilings that would be driven. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would establish the place where this floating system, if it were removed, would be replaced back to every season. And the strength of those timber pilings is
much superior to what the seasonal metal pipes is, so it would provide more stability for the dock system. The floats themselves are actually narrower, but because of the manufactured design, they're more stable. And they're made out of materials that are much more resistant to salt water and things like that. The other improvement that was proposed is that the section that is proposed to stay in permanently forever on the upland, the pier section, which is shown in the profile here, and it's also shown in cross-section, is timber with the same type of pilings. It's traditional piles that you've seen on other docks that you've reviewed and approved. And the cross-section, if you note, is very similar to other docks that you've reviewed and approved. This section would always stay in, whereas this section has the option to be hauled or to decide year by year whether to keep it in.
On that issue, though, is there any power to this dock? Because I think one of the other conditions is if it does stay in, it has to have adequate couplers to keep ice from creating a potential damage situation if it freezes up. That at least, I know the Conservation Commission has always said if things are staying in year-round, you have to have adequate bubblers to prevent ice from forming there. And so if there's no power, I'm not sure how that would be, unless are there going to be solar-powered bubblers? I mean, I assume that condition will be followed.
If it's a boilerplate condition,
it has to be followed, though.
Slip and Jones, yes. It has to be followed unless you get an amendment and you have a site-specific case such as this where you don't have power, and we may revisit that with the Conservation Commission. Okay. We feel strongly that the pilings driven to a depth of 15 feet don't need bubbler system, and I'm confident we could convince them that we don't need it. And the fact that we don't have power is a site-specific situation.
It's one of their special conditions they look at.
Sure. It's a standard special condition, if that makes sense, for docks. The part here that is intended to always stay in and is pile supported currently has decking, and the sunlight penetration is not very efficient, so there's a potential for a shading of the bottom. The new decking will be the type that allows for sunlight penetration. It's a plastic stable material, doesn't splinter, should not need for the foreseeable future ever any maintenance or replacement. So all in all, it's already been established by the Conservation Commission, and it's in their record that this dock has been in this location for decades, and it has been established that it's in effect grandfathered. And we're simply trying to improve conditions in the grandfathered location for safety in the environment. If we were to secure a special permit, we would then move on to the Chapter 91 process, because although the dock is decades old, it never, for reasons that are common, lots of docks never, for whatever reason, get the Chapter 91 license. That's something else that we would pursue if we were granted the special permit. I think that sums it up. I'm here to answer questions.
Any other questions from Michael? I just want to comment too on the fact that it is an association dock, which this board really supports, more so than individual docks. I mean, this is a good thing for the community.
There are 12 places available. There's a lot of property that doesn't have the benefit of being waterfront in this neighborhood, and this gives them access.
Yes,
I just
questions?
wanted Mr. Jones to take a look on all of the provisions. I don't have a page number, but it would be the second to last page, number 3, under special conditions. Does that satisfy you?
Well, that's what I was referring to, and that's what Mr. Berselli is saying, is boilerplate in all of them, and they may want to get a waiver from that. But
You're talking about number 3?
yeah.
Number 3, in special
Which
condition.
requires that all floats and piers, if designed to be in continual use, shall have adequate bubblers protecting piles during the winter months. which it would be in the owner's best interest anyway, rather than have damage caused by ice or whatever.
I was just told by one of the neighbors that they've secured a temporary, is it above ground, Steve? Do you want to speak to it? Yeah. This is Steve Davino, one of the property owners, about the power and the availability for a bubbler system.
At the time that we met with the Conservation Committee and the selectmen, at the time, the question came up about bubblers. I was on the team that was actually the original dock designers and the ad hoc committee. It was my duty to really go out and look for suitable dock materials and designs. Part of the conversation came across as far as leaving it in and having bubblers. So we did allow for ring bubblers around the main piers, and we were allowed to put in a what we'd call a seasonal temporary cable. It's really nothing more than the same type of sheathed welding weld cable you would use from my house to the dock. And in answer to that, we also installed a generator at my home, and it's an outside receptacle. So if the need came about, we would simply just provide a blower at the dock with a temporary cable from my house at no charge to the neighborhood. And that's how we resolve that issue.
Okay.
Just so
Any
you're clear.
questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this dock application? Yes, ma'am. And state your name for the record, please. Wait.
I'm Betty Wright, and I'm a property owner of 41 Toby Lane with my two siblings. And I wanted to read a statement tonight about how we're in favor of supporting the dock upgrade. And I want to read this for a public record. I meant to say good evening.
Good evening.
To the Falmouth Board of Selectmen, I am speaking for the Ames family, the owners of 41 Toby Lane. We are members of the Toby Lane Association and are in favor of the proposed upgrade of the present decrepit dock as shown on the plan prepared by Falmouth Engineering, dated December 26, 2012, and entitled Site Plan Association Dock Improvements. This is the same plan as that previously approved by the Falmouth Conservation Commission. As you are aware, there is uncertainty about the precise location of the boundary between our property and that of the Toby Lane Association, and for the express purpose of proceeding with the needed dock upgrade, the Ames family and the Toby Lane Association have entered into an agreement acknowledging the existence of the two views of the boundary line, and have agreed to leave the matter unsettled for the time being. And so I'm including here a copy of that agreement, so you have it if you don't have it already. And that's dated July 5th, 2014. It's for your file. And we are encouraged by the fact that the boundary line established by our surveyors is shown on the plan before you, and that the association engineers have rotated the approach to the dock so as not to intrude over that line. These efforts, plus the July 5th agreement, enable us to appear before you in support of the new dock, which will benefit all the members of the association. And it should go without saying, of course, that in supporting the new dock under these circumstances, the Ames family is not waiving any of its rights with respect to the boundary line at issue. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the dock application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the dock application?
I move we close the hearing.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. So, how would the board like to proceed? Do you have any questions on the plan? Is there any further discussion on the plan?
I think it's a great idea to have this dock updated. I think the turning of the dock a little bit to make sure it does not conflict with the property line, so that's not an issue, is wonderful. I would like to make sure that that condition about the bubblers is followed through either through the Conservation Commission, through an appeal, or following exactly to the letter. But beyond that, I would move approval of this application dated December 26th, 2012, the Site Plan Association dock improvements.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just a second. Oh, they have to sign this.
We can
Everybody
sign it
has
all
to
together.
sign it.
Yeah.
Oh, and this goes in the file, too. If you would be kindly exit the room so we can continue with our business, thank you. We're going to continue with public comment. I think Annie Saganik, you emailed. Anybody else? Yes, Peter?
Good evening, Peter McConerty, Town of Falmouth. I would just like to say thank you to the Town of Falmouth for the beautiful Christmas and holiday displays up and down Main Street. It looks beautiful. They did a beautiful job. I wanted to say thank you to Town Hall, to Public Works, to all the town offices. The fire department actually had their bucket trucks out there helping the Parks Department put up the lights, so it really looks beautiful. And all to the business owners on Main Street. When you drive down here at nighttime, personally, I think it's the best in the Cape. So.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
That was great. And I think we agree.
Yes.
Anybody else? Anyone yet still here to speak under public comment? Okay, then we will move to the minutes of November 24th, a regular business meeting. Any amendments, changes, corrections?
I move approval of the minutes of Monday, November 24th, 2014, as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. And now we'll move to the summary of actions. And the first one is to approve an annual inn holder's license. This is Falmouth Inn, 824 Main Street. You may remember that they were the holder, or they are until December of this year, the holder of an all-alcoholic license, but they choose not to renew that license. But they wish to maintain their inn holder's license.
I move approval of the Falmouth Inn annual inn holder's license.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion is unanimous. Get this together here.
In the recommendation from Sean Doyle, it does talk about the automatic amusement device license also, which was not listed on our agenda.
That's not listed, no.
So do we need to do that at some other time, or is that not what it was applied for?
No. It says here that it's a new inn holder's license and an amusement license. So there are both of them here together, and I missed that. So let's have a motion to approve the amusement license as well.
Okay,
Both of them are here for approval.
I move approval of the amusement license also for Falmouth Inn.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes, Becky?
If I could just have explained, it's just video games. Is there anyone here? Yes, okay.
Yeah, there's 4 video games.
Could you state your name for the record?
Oh, Gerald D. Giovanni. I last appeared here in 1998 when I purchased the Falmouth Inn, and I held the innkeeper's license up until, I believe it was 2/11, which after that, I leased the restaurant, and they threw in the innkeeper's license with the restaurant, at which time I don't believe it should have been. It also had this not entertainment license, but video game license. It's a separate room with four games in it.
These are 4 video games. Yeah. Okay,
Like
thank you.
pinball, so.
Thank you. So any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. So we approve the license and the amusement
Thank you.
license. Thank you. The next is a request for the change of Sunday hours, Falmouth Wine and Spirits, 322 Palmer Avenue. This is our routine change of hours.
I move approval of the change of hours for Falmouth Wine and Spirits.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Next is, this is a really interesting proposal from the Ashumet property owners. They want to authorize the town manager to develop a license agreement for solar streetlights. Anyone? Joan, did you want to speak? Joan Bates, welcome. This is it's a private community development in Ashumet Valley, and so since they don't have streetlights, rather than go the normal way, they want to get together as a community and buy solar streetlights.
Yeah, my name is Joan Bates. I'm co-president of the Ashumet Valley Property Owners Association, and I brought a map to show you where the heck we are and how big we are, because it's very confusing.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from Mike to grab this.
Double duty.
Thank you. So Ashumet Valley, we call ourselves Ashumet Valley. We are adjacent to Ashumet Pond, which we adore. We have a beach, which is our private beach on Ashumet Pond. And we have quite recently, as I think you will recall, had you folks adopt 4 of our streets as the final adoption for public roads within Ashumet Valley. This is the Paul Harney Golf Course that you see here. Route 151 runs this way. We're bordered by Sandwich Road, Courier Road, and Ashumet Road. We have, in the past, I think in the 1980s, before I came here, installed 7 streetlights in our community on then private roads. We are very concerned, especially as the roads were finished and travel speeded up a bit, that 4 locations within our community really need streetlights. And they are, this is our main entrance here on 151. It doesn't look like much, but it is a major entrance to both the Paul Harney Golf Course and to our community. And what happens is we have quite a busy line of traffic on Fordham Road, and Club Valley, which wraps all around the community, is also a very busy road. So we have a newly paved road called Shepherd Place, which connects both Regis Road, crosses over Fordham, and dead ends at Club Valley. There are no streetlights, shockingly, at Fordham Road or at Club Valley Drive on Shepherd Place. So we're very concerned about that because this is a main entry road which people tend to travel maybe a little faster than we wish they would. Not everybody, but it does happen. Very dark, especially now, meaning, at 4 o'clock when the kids are released. Our back entrance off Courier is right here, and it is the entry road there is called Austin Stokes. There are now, it is a boulevard. My husband says call it a mall, meaning there is a median strip in it. So we have an incoming road and an outgoing road, quite a complicated intersection. And both Regis Road and Redlands Road cross over that, as does Club Valley. Club Valley, however, has a street light, but Redlands and Regis do not. So we come to you tonight asking your permission, which I believe is called a license, to pursue solar lights. Now, 2 years ago, we began working on this, and we were going to install electric lights. Expensive, complicated, and expensive to run. We pay about $2,000 a year for our street lights that we do pay for now. So we thought, because of the good works of one of our members, why not go solar? So we have a proposal from a California company, don't you love it, and a local Norfolk installer to provide 4 solar streetlights for us at these difficult intersections. But we obviously need a license to install them in the town way. I guess that's a correct term. And we've had some advice on that as we were working previously on the development of the roads and thinking about electric lights, but we'll obviously need exact direction as to where we can put them, especially given that they're solar. They are going to be 20 to 23 feet tall. They're metal poles. They're LED lights. They have a approximately 25-year life for the bulb, if you will. It does have a battery pack, which is good for up to 3 or possibly 4 days of relative cloudiness like we're having now. Quite an exciting project. We have no idea how successful we'll be, but we're anxious to try it, and we put aside the money to do so. So that's the long summary.
questions? Becky?
I wonder if Peter could address us and his opinion. I don't know if you have one at all, or it's the wrong time to ask you, but...
I do. Peter McConaughey, town engineer. Yeah, I've actually in the past couple of years I've worked with the Shumat Valley Association and actually Joan with citing these the streetlights. So the 4 locations, they are in dark areas in the intersections up there. And now that Austin Stoke has been completed and finished, it's basically a cut-through street too. A lot of the vehicles travel fast up that roadway. So I think this would be a great idea for an alternative instead of power. To be able to put solar. In the beginning, before we did the roadways, Public Works, before they completed the roadways, Public Works put some conduits under the roadways running from some of the transfer cabinets in lieu of maybe putting in the power lights, but I think this is a better alternative. What I understood from them, from the photos that I've seen of them, they basically look exactly like the lights in Main Street. They just have a panel on the top for the solar. So I think it would definitely be an improvement to the association, and if they're willing to do the install and request a license, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
With the license, they maintain the property of the Shumat Valley Association, don't end up ultimately becoming the responsibility of the town, is that correct?
Correct.
So, well, I think what we would ask is that periodically you let us know how things go, if they really work as planned, but it sounds like a great idea.
We're very, we're looking forward to it, because we spent so much money on electricity on the others. We figured this is going to be a better alternative. We use solar lights.
The microphone, Joan, if you use the microphone.
We are excited about the experiment, to tell you the truth, and kind of hoping that maybe we could be a little bit of a opportunity for other people in the community to see how something like this might work, obviously. So we all need more power sources.
Do you have any idea or estimate of what you think they might cost once they're in, I mean, in terms of operating? Free.
Yeah, it's about $20,000 for the 4.
For the 4.
Installed. And we've been talking to the installer about possibly getting precast concrete, whatever the thing is called that they go in the ground in, because now it's too late to do the poured concrete. But they said that yes, we could do that. They so far have been very positive about helping us make it happen. Perhaps not having to wait for the spring, because we've been at this thought process for a couple of years now. You know how this works, but we'd like to get it in the wintertime. We know that children are dropped off from the school buses at some of these intersections, and it is dark by 4:15, especially tonight. I mean, it was dark at 4 o'clock today. So it's a safety feature for all of us. That is our primary concern. It's not just, let's have streetlights. We need it from a safety point of view.
I would move to authorize the town manager to develop a license agreement for the solar streetlights with the Shumat property owners.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Good luck, Joe.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank you
to
for
you.
your interest.
Okay, we're going to move on to administrative orders. And the first is to approve the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund grant agreement and related documents for Natanica Woods. Is there anyone here who wants to? I think we've been through this for a long time, and Pat Harris, did you want to? Sure, go ahead.
Just to position it for your motion. This is an affordable housing grant that was provided to the Falmouth Housing Corporation. The parties negotiated all the terms of the agreement before you. It has been executed by the corporate president, Linda Clark. She's actually here today and making a special request that the Board of Selectmen, if they vote to approve the grant agreement as presented to you and the affordable housing restriction that would be recorded against the property, in exchange for the grant monies the town has provided under the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund, that the board indulge her and sign the documents tonight or right as you vote, because she has to take those documents tomorrow to a closing with a number of other banks. I think Linda is here. No? Okay. I know my understanding is she was going to be here and take those documents.
No, I saw her earlier.
Okay.
And because these have to be notarized.
Yes.
And they have to be notarized in the town tomorrow morning, so she's going to pick them up in the morning.
All right, well, I stand corrected.
And so we're going to sign them right now, all of them, right this moment, and get them all done and packaged, so we don't get them mixed up with all of our other options once we vote.
The notary has to be here to watch us sign them.
It doesn't work that way. No, our notary is the town notary, and they know our signatures.
Right.
So they don't have to be present.
They've been recorded.
Okay.
So is there a motion to approve? Here's the motion. Is that the one? Yes.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve execution of the grant agreement by and between the Town of Falmouth and the Falmouth Housing Corporation, Inc., FHC, and an affordable housing restriction from FHC Woods Hole LLC to the Town of Falmouth. Pursuant to the terms of the grant agreement, the Town of Falmouth grants $540,000 to Falmouth Housing Corporation for the development of 11 affordable housing units located at 300 Woods Hole Road in Falmouth, Massachusetts, also known as Notantico Woods. Pursuant to the terms of the affordable housing restriction, the units at Notantico Woods shall be affordable in perpetuity.
Second.
Any further discussion? This is finally, after a long time. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Could I just add that this has been vetted many, many times by the Community Preservation Committee, and they're fully in support of this. And they're
Yes.
trying to expedite it for a long time. They're very happy.
This is truly a great project. There's that one. The reason we're doing this now is that there is a meeting tomorrow morning in Boston with the housing group to actually finalize all this, so that's why we're signing them all tonight. And when you finish down there, if you would send them back this way.
You can notarize them, as you've seen us.
haven't signed this. Okay, now we'll move on to the next project, which is to approve the award of the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund for Odd Fellows Hall. And our town
Yes,
council, Pat Harris.
Just briefly, Heather Hopper prepared a motion for the board this evening, and attaches to it a correspondence from Ralph Herbst of the CPC indicating that they have approved the application from the Falmouth Housing Trust for the Odd Fellow project. And the motion is to authorize $208,000 from the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund Trust, and to further authorize $7,500 to be from the fund as well, to be expended for special counsel.
I just wondered if Annie or if Pat Haney wanted to make a comment? Sure. Pat. Patty.
Hi, Patty Haney, Chair of the Affordable Housing Subcommittee for the CPC. First, thank you for signing the agreement for Natantico Way. It has been a long time, and I'm really glad to see that off the table now, and that it all got signed tonight. The CPC did approve the request for the Odd Fellows Hall, which you've heard about several times already, so I won't bore you with that. One of our concerns in discussing this project was that the ZBA put some conditions on this project that involved parking and pavers on basically the front lawn of the property for aesthetic reasons. What that does to this project is it kills the handicapped accessibility. There are no handicapped accessible units in this, but the project all along had wanted visitability, which is if you have a visitor, a potential visitor that has a handicap, they should be able to get in and out of the building. With this new parking scenario, that is not possible. And it seems a little arbitrary. The Community Preservation Act has really moved to stress handicapped accessibility. Witness the playgrounds that we funded recently, making sure that there is accessibility. So it bothers us a lot that this is not true of this housing. So I would really, we have urged the Housing Trust to go back to the ZBA and see if that condition can be changed. They are going to keep the rails and the things that might help, but there is no access from the parking to where the people can get into the building. So we have recommended that they speak to people and try to get that changed. It doesn't affect our recommendation on funding the project. We wholeheartedly back it, and we also really back the $7,500, up to $7,500 to get the documents, which are, like that, done by somebody who does that for a living. So that's my comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Annie?
Hi there, Annie Saganek. I'm the Executive Director for the Falmouth Housing Trust. We're So excited to be here. It's been a long road. I just wanted to clarify a little bit on what Patty said. We're also bothered by the condition. The Falmouth Housing Trust did attempt to mediate over the summer with the ZBA to no avail. We will convene and talk about our options after our funding is in place and we do take possession of the property, which we are hoping to do by the end of this year. Also, in terms of visitability, I think it's important for everybody to sort of have it. The 2 units on the first floor at Oddfellows were always going to be visitable. Now they're not because of the parking, which is going to essentially be a grass field. The thing about visitability is that it offers you an opportunity to make universal access structural decisions when you're building or remodeling a project. And so it's 3 conditions. It's so easy to achieve, and frankly, it's something that this board and every capital project that you folks do or anybody does should be stressed to do and encouraged to do as well. It's wide doorways so a wheelchair could fit through, a first floor bathroom that a wheelchair could navigate, so a larger bathroom, and then a 0-step clearance, which is the issue with the parking. And then lastly, disabled folks. We own and operate the Gerald Flynn House on Palmer Ave, and I had a young man who is lovely and doing well, but he was with us for almost 3.5 years because he could not find a disabled accessible unit in Falmouth after he graduated from our program. The Flynn House is visitable. He was confined to a wheelchair and he did just fine. So people who are disabled do live in visitable units. And yes, it's technically to visit them, but it's housing options, and that's something that we should really be planning for, be stressing. I don't know sort of what happened with the ZBA, but I think it's important that all town boards and committees get on the same page with goals, municipal goals, and access should be one of them, particularly for a population like ours that is aging. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Pam.
I just want to emphasize and applaud what you just said, because one thing that you need to understand about accessibility, it's for everyone. I mean, any one of us could break our hip, could twist an ankle. It's something that, you're right, should be incorporated fairly easily. And I'm just wondering for going forward, maybe I don't know if I have the right name, but the subcommittee, which is the Commission on Disabilities, Jane Perry, she might be a good resource in terms of getting the CBA to really understand what your goals are. So that's just
thank you.
I don't know if you've tried that already.
We have, and she's been a tremendous supporter of this project and the visitability aspect of it, and also the St. Mark's project. That, of course, has a visitable house as well. We are in constant communication, Jane and I, and she's a big supporter, and certainly if we go back before the ZBA to ask to have that condition removed, we'll bring her.
Great.
Thanks.
Sam?
I've been doing a little bit of homework talking to people in town hall, and it's my understanding that at least it was looked at, that there might be some options to actually put that in. I don't know whether, Julian, you could comment to that? Has there been any looking at ways of looking at alternatives for providing new visibility that still allows the ZBA to create a look that doesn't have asphalt across the entire front of that historic place?
Well, I know that, I don't pretend to be an expert in that area, but I know we've had, as you've indicated, more than one individual look at that, potentially including town planner Brian Curry, and Assistant Town Manager Heather Harper's been involved in that as well. And we are guardedly optimistic that an appropriate approach can be made when all is said and done that would be appropriately accommodating. But again, not being an expert, I can't provide a whole lot in the way of details, but yes, you're quite correct that a number of us have been involved in not only encouraging an appropriate solution, but engage in a dialogue to achieve something that is doable and has the end result we all desire.
All right, so
I would move it to
And just one thought. When we started this conversation, which all of us know how long that's been, there was a discussion about the back part of the building being handicap accessible. No one recalls that conversation that we had, that how were you going to?
No, I think that was this building over here,
What?
the building
Oh,
next
on the
to
side
Town
here
Hall.
and not on Falmouth.
Not
Okay.
the Oddfellows.
Oddfellows, okay.
Okay, so,
I
a
move that the
motion.
Board of Selectmen acting as trustees of the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund vote to authorize a $208,000 grant to the Falmouth Housing Trust for the development of Oddfellows Hall, and to further authorize up to $7,500 from the Affordable Housing Fund to be expended by the Office of Town Council for Special Counsel to facilitate closing grant administration.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Yay. Great job. Okay, now, what? Yeah. We're going to just take a short recess to, and then take up the rest of our business. This is... Go ahead.
Jennifer Petit, Finance Director. I come before you this evening on the Board of Selectmen's meeting on October 27th. The board voted to move forward with a refinancing opportunity for a portion of the town's debt service. So immediately following, we issued bids for 3 different issues. And I just want to let you know that Ms. O'Connell, our tax collector, has just put a vote in front of you. Again, the closing is tomorrow. We just went out to bid a couple days ago, so it's one of those push to get it signed and lock in the interest rate. And the vote doesn't need to be read into the record, but it is in front of you to look over, and I can tell you essentially what we did. We issued bids for, as you're aware, we received the QECBs, the Quality Energy Conservation Bonds from the federal government. We were awarded that grant. And part of the requirement is to bond within the next 6 months. Well, we were in the middle of a refinancing, so at the last minute, we were able to bond these and take advantage of that. And that will be a savings over the next 19 years of about $400,000. With a subsidy from the federal government for interest. So we were able to really take advantage of that pretty quickly. Also, we have $8.1 million in bond anticipation notes, and those are primarily for the wastewater project that we're starting to embark on in the next year. We've already started design, and that will be going through the process with DEP and the trust. And so we have $8.1 million of bond anticipation notes. And the rest of the issue, we have a non-taxable and a taxable issue of the refinancing, and also some new money in there for the water filtration plant. We really wanted to take advantage of the low interest rate, so we have that in here as well. So it is kind of a complicated bond issue, refinancing. And we received a 2.14% interest cost on the long-term notes, which is really just a great interest rate. So we're able to take advantage of that to save the taxpayers money. So with that being said, the memo that was part of your packet in awarding the bids, I just wanted to, here to answer any questions, and unfortunately, here to sign all these documents so I can forward them tomorrow to our financial advisor, and they continue with the refinancing. Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Great job.
I guess I have one question. What effect would the potential for zero-interest loans have on any of this that we were hoping to get for either of the 2 projects?
Right, now anything that we have been approved for the trust, now the 0% interest loans, which are primarily for the wastewater project, we only borrowed the design, which isn't part of the trust. And we did an analysis, just to let you know, 0%, we have 2% on the water filtration, but we will be probably coming in front of the board in the next couple of months. We will be having interim loan agreements with the trust that will be separate from this for the actual construction of the water filtration plant and the sewer project.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted to...
Sam and then Becky, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, for the sake of the citizens, the timing of this could hardly be any better. I mean, as the economy is starting to heat up, the Federal Reserve is already talking about raising interest rates, and that's going to push the floor up on all of these bond issues. So this could hardly be better timing, and I just think that's just terrific. And thanks for being ready to jump on this.
Thank you.
Becky?
On the 3rd page, on the document that we were given,
Yes.
there is a year 2015,
Yes.
a 1.2 million, interest rate 1%.
Right.
Why does it jump to 3 and 4?
Okay, let me explain the financing in general. The interest, when I, in the memo, put 2.14% interest rate, that is a true interest cost after we receive the premium. So when we go out to market to sell bonds, we sell them at a coupon rate, and that's what you're seeing. The coupon rate will change over time, but we will receive a premium for that. And what happens is we set the premium aside, and we apply that to the interest to even it out over the next 15 or 20 years, or however long we bonded for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Then the motion will come.
I guess, and the thing is, and this was, you said was going to give us a savings of around $800,000 by doing this, right?
Yes, so the taxable and non-taxable portion of this refinancing together is a savings of $880,000.
Great.
And that does not include the $430 from the qualified energy conservation bonds.
I would move that we adopt the vote has been presented to us in these documents ahead of us, in front of us. It is 4 pages or 5 pages of documents that I don't think we need to read into the minutes.
You need to read the whole thing.
Which will be incorporated.
Adopt the vote in the form.
Presented at the meeting, which will be incorporated in the minutes.
In the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay,
Now we have
we're
some-
ready to sign.
So we have 2 packets, and I think we'll start on each end, instead of just putting everything through, just so we can make sure we get
No.
all the signatures.
Just check them as you.
Why don't we just
start
at one end, Jen?
You want to just start with one?
With one end, yeah.
We're gonna sign them all in here.
They're
gonna come, yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer, start on the end, yeah.
These are mine.
Those are,
That, yeah.
this is for, so you just want to sign where it says sign here.
No, witnessing your signature.
But if we each started with one, we could do rotating.
Yeah, but they like to keep track of it. It takes a little longer, but they know exactly.
Everybody else signs their own. Okay.
So none of us pocket.
Okay.
That's the letter.
That needs to go, Michael.
Thank you.
When's Kate come home?
The Sunday coming,
This Sunday?
yes. He's home for like 3 weeks.
What's he going to do?
I told him 2 weeks ago, I said, call Seacrest.
So,
Line up your hours.
Henry dropped off his application when they had 2 days ago.
Oh, great. That's great.
You have no idea how many documents I've signed in the county. Just like this, week after week after week. I am so tired of writing my name, and it just takes forever to sign them all, because we have to sign everything.
Whenever we sign one,
And then,
How did you enjoy the semester?
and then somebody
He's having a
says,
great
oh,
time.
I'll sign them later.
He's got 2 exams
And then
Friday.
they're crazy. What do you
Exam
mean
Monday,
later?
and he hasn't
Tell me
told me when
exactly
the
when
exam
you
is.
sign them. There is
When I
no
go get
later,
him.
you gotta sign them now.
Jake had some finals doubled up on the same day. He was able to negotiate.
Okay, so as you
during
go
different
through,
classes.
if you see if there's any I missed.
these are for you, Mom.
Oh, just me?
They're just for you.
Okay. Clerk of the board, I am, is that what I'm called?
Recess for everybody in the audience. At least they'll get up and walk around instead of taking off. check and make sure all the signatures are right.
Don't let us know about doing this one, too.
Do you want me to start packing down?
Yeah, I think it'll be better.
On this one?
You just want to make sure they sign on a consistent line.
You can rotate like this, right? Take that one over there.
Oh, I still have another one here.
Okay, I was going to suggest you just rotate like this. Okay, I'll let you do it. All right.
These are all in this line.
Rebecca won't be back though.
So I've been meaning to find out, and I never remember to ask.
Just missed this one.
We used to do this. I remember. Often, this is probably, yeah, the largest one I've ever seen. I mean, it's hard to believe that you have all these papers for just. And the library board of trustees.
So these two both.
Sign a lousy little.
They both still have to be.
You know?
They do it for some licenses.
And the library trustees won't agree to let us sign their document. We sign away millions of dollars every year. I'm gonna say, I hope the library trustees are watching tonight.
I'm gonna go talk to them tomorrow.
Huh?
I'm gonna chat with them, I'm going to their meeting tomorrow.
Oh, God.
And just tell them my personal reaction to it.
First of all, the second document that they provided is they can get, we had one paragraph, they have like 5 pages, nothing.
But I'm just gonna speak on what I personally react to, not as a representative of.
I'm ready. You know, I mean, if they have a problem with trust.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Thank you.
Looking at the copy of that special legislation for the affordable housing. We can read the whole package.
Huh?
Most
And there's nothing underneath to interpret.
That's because I knew Sue's gonna check to make sure I signed them all.
I do. We check each other as we go. But he like adds the numbers up on the pages as he goes. That's what people don't realize.
Even making those lists and checking them twice.
Oh, that's a killer. So this is for Mary
See,
Pat,
if my
right?
name weren't so long, it wouldn't take me so long to sign them.
It's the advantage of names like Jones and Flynn, you don't have to actually spell it because everyone just assumes that's what it is.
One more in this pile.
Well, she's still in this one.
Oh, I just finished. Speed everything up.
Okay. Mary Pat, I think. Okay. No pressure, no pressure.
It was on a roll, man.
Right.
This is a big packet.
Those are like really chintzy tabs too. It's hard to like.
Who put them all on?
I use the real hard ones because I'm impatient. Oh, you must be.
Well, it's not often that we do this, but we have done it before.
Now, some of these don't have a signature for an acting treasurer. There are a few that I've noticed that have not had a signature under acting treasurer.
Oh, there is? Okay, I'll.
I missed it, huh?
There was one I noticed on this one and on the previous one. I thought, oh,
That was a test.
not that I would have. There's another one down there where I just thought, huh.
Oh, there's another one. Yeah. And I guess it
Any kind of test, you know, I can grade tests faster than anybody.
the conversation about the cranberry bog. Is that Thursday at the library? Thursday? No, that's the school one. It was with Betsy.
Okay. It's coming up too. It'll be next. The 22nd.
Oh, it's at the end of the month? Okay, no, you tell me.
You know, have we had...
No, that's all right. I'm just double checking myself. Since you caught me
They
already.
would not have been delayed for 2 years. Because council could have said, hey, this isn't your issue. You shouldn't even be considering it.
There's one.
And they lost 2 years.
Oh my God.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
On the dock issue.
On the dock hearing, yeah. That was Kevin's issue, I remember. Were you on the board then?
It was 3-2.
The way we used to do these before, one person would do these, and Mike would stand there and he'd hand it to you, and you'd have to hand it back to him. Oh, yeah, he was, made sure he had control of every document, but those two of them were watching it very well. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Sure. Michael can notarize all this, can't he? Isn't Michael a notary also, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, Michael is.
But when you do it on camera, that one's done.
Heather's
I
a
mean,
notary too, isn't
everybody,
she?
I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting all this assembled. It's quite the
All right,
job.
sure more. And then we have all these to sign too.
Oh, yeah.
But we can't sign until we vote. We can't sign until we vote.
Oh, theoretically. Those are signed.
Right.
That's ready to go. Get my stuff over here. So Carolyn, if Diane's not here, Carolyn will have to notarize all this. Oh, he's gonna do it. Oh, awesome. Oh, great. So he'll be all set to go.
So he'll be done by midnight?
Huh?
He'll be done by midnight? It's good.
The Notanical ones, they weren't, there weren't too many of those. He knows that she's coming in.
Yeah, he's actually going to give it back to me tonight.
Oh, okay.
And all these liquor licenses, they all say 12 noon?
This one needs a few.
Don't they all need to go back to the 10?
Doug,
The new ones?
just testing me.
It says
I'll
11:30.
just, I'll finish
Open on
this.
Sundays.
I'll keep my fingernails.
Oh, that's right. Those licenses all say noon on Sundays instead of
The new ones?
10.
Earlier time?
The new ones? Does that mean that they have not applied for the new change, or is that?
Yeah.
Or is that just
So
the?
you see it up there.
I haven't remembered which ones.
Do they all say noon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't remember which
So we
people
should
have asked
bring-
for.
We just should not do them tonight, whichever ones. Well, we can approve them, but they'd have to redo them, and we'd have to sign them all again.
Hey, you used this one too. But actually, I guess that was for liquor stores, not for inns.
Oh, no, yeah, that's only for liquor stores, yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's one more missing, yeah.
And restaurants. Oh, restaurants can serve earlier on Sundays now.
Right.
Is that a restaurant?
These are all restaurants.
Yeah, they can serve at 10 o'clock now on
If
Sundays.
they request.
Yeah,
if they
but
notice.
we don't know whether they did or not.
We'll check.
Which one is that?
Grumpy's.
Oh, well, you know they would. I would imagine.
I don't remember seeing them.
I don't know.
I know he did.
Tracks. Yep.
Yeah, they're all saying noon.
So we have to re-sign them anyway, right?
We'll probably have to re-sign it.
So don't even bother.
We did vote.
Do that?
Give them to Pat.
Yeah. We should have announced that anyone watching at home could go make popcorn a few minutes ago.
So the rest isn't too much. Yeah, we just have a few more things to do. They must be from Falmouth Hospital? I thought so. Sorry to keep you up so long. You leaving? Thank you for your comments, Peter. It was very nice.
Sam has to do this one.
Good thing you noticed that in the licenses.
There's a number.
They're all signed, but I didn't get all these.
Quick, too.
I think we didn't move these
Oh,
right
we're
now.
not going to read all those today. We'll just move them.
Julian, was this your request that we got these recommendations? I'm thrilled to have it, but I never remembered seeing.
No, which recommendations?
This is just on the applications for annual license renewals. And we also got the recognition from the police department.
Pretty sure Diane put it on.
Great.
Yeah, she took it down.
Yeah.
She'd be great for that.
They're all set? Oh, thanks. We're done. Okay. would say.
Granted, a bunch of these have a bunch of licenses.
Romance broker, I don't know if that ever happened.
Right, that's true.
And entertainment.
Oh, I saw that, thank you, yeah. Oh, good. Who? Oh, Jody Shaw. Oh, good. Oh, that's good, yeah. Wait, might as well bring him in early, because then everything gets done faster. Almost done.
Thank you all
Wow.
for patiently sitting here and signing everything. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for all the work you did to make it happen.
It's only worth $880,000 to the town.
Right.
Yeah. We can handle using up some ink.
That was a good drive. That's how we'll be when the real documents are.
Right, oh, thanks. Oh. It's getting punchy.
Too much signing tonight.
The other ones have to be in blood, right? Transparent, you can keep going.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it will take 2 seconds to do the sign for Falmouth Hospital, do you?
Right.
Why don't we just move that up first? They've been sitting here the whole night.
Sure.
I'm going to take it out of order. We're going to take you out of order. Oh, okay.
Move on. You sign all the others.
I hate to be the last one. Because everybody's like, "Will you please hurry up?" It's always the person with the longest name. Like Sam Patterson. She's done.
You're gonna check? We can get going.
We're done.
Except for the ones we missed.
What?
Except for the ones we missed.
I want to thank everyone for your patience while we do this. It doesn't happen very often, and I know it's really boring for you, but thank you. I'm going to ask the board if you would agree to take out of order the request for the sign variance from Falmouth Hospital. It's an off-premise directory board. I think we've all seen it. We already know that there's one there at the end of Edgerton Drive in Route 28A. So
You need a motion?
I just need a motion to approve the sign variance.
Can we take the sign variance out of order?
Oh, out of order. Is there a second? Take that out of order. We need a motion and to vote to take it out of order.
You could just do that on your own, I thought.
No,
Okay.
it really
I just
requires a
moved.
vote.
And I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All, aye. Aye, unanimous. Is there anything you'd like to say? Sure. Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, identify myself. I'm Jeff Dykens. I'm the Chief Operating Officer up at Falmouth Hospital. Been with Cape Cod Healthcare about 25 years now. Honored to be here. I'm also a selectman down in the town, my hometown of Chatham. So it's interesting to watch you guys do your thing, and had the pleasure of working with Jennifer Petit for many years down there, and she did a wonderful job for us down in Chatham and saved us $880,000 many times. I'll tell you right now, you are absolutely,
That's why you have so much money.
You are absolutely blessed to have her down here. We'd like to put a sign down at the corner of Edgerton Drive and Route 28A. We have, as many of you probably know, a growing outpatient complex up there on Edgerton Drive. We have a pain management program. We have a GI center. We call it the North Falmouth Surgery Center. We have a dermatology practice, an orthopedic practice, a primary care practice, and frankly, probably an expanding primary care presence there as well. So what we lack, though, is directions, especially coming south on 28A. We have, as you also well know, a lot of elderly folks that kind of difficulty wayfinding, even though we give directions and are very clear about where the campus is and where the offices are. So we'd really would love to have a sign in the corner there so folks can pick up the fact that Cape Cod Healthcare has made a considerable investment in healthcare services there, and so they can find their way to them. Mr. Greg Sarunian is our architect. He has some sketches and stuff. If you have any questions about the menu board, if you will, it's with our logo. I think it's about 4x8, and it will detail the different services that we have up there. But I think it would be a wonderful addition for wayfinding, and frankly, it's something that we could really utilize as well. It'd be very good for our patients and for your constituents. I'll answer any questions you might have and as with Greg.
For the record, I'm Greg Strunian, Medcom Architecture Group. Do you all have the packet?
Yes.
Are there any specific questions? I know you mentioned the other sign. That sign is on the state portion of the road. That's why we're back a little bit. So we're on the town right of way.
And that's a major reason it's coming before us, is because it's on town property.
On town.
The design review committee has already approved it from their point of view.
Right.
It just needs our permission because it's on town property.
I move approval of this sign variance.
Second?
Any further discussion? Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. I'm sure it will be a significant improvement.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next we have a report from Matrix Consulting on the consolidation of the fire, police, marine, and environmental services and public works dispatching. And who's going to begin? We have Attorney Moskis here and a gentleman from Dallas. You came up to enjoy the cold weather.
Balmy 35 degrees. And I hear things are looking even better for my flight tomorrow. I'm Robert Finn. I'm a senior manager with Matrix Consulting Group, and I'm here to present just a summary of the final report. I know members of the Board of Selectmen have all been provided a copy of the report last week and have had the opportunity to enjoy some nice bedtime reading and go through the report in detail. So this is just to provide a high-level summary and give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have of the report or of the process as we're going forward. And I apologize in advance that I did not bring anything for you to sign. So, the project scope of work was focused on evaluating the current delivery of emergency dispatch services in the town and to evaluate the feasibility of consolidating the dispatch services from what they are currently provided. As it stands today, the fire department has a standalone dispatch center. The police department has a standalone dispatch center. Marine and environmental services pretty much dispatch themselves just via talking on the radio, but there's no formalized dispatch component for them. And Public Works is dispatched via a work order process system, and it's really just after hours where the police or fire dispatch would dispatch public works folks if there was a public works emergency that came through one of the respective dispatch centers. And then after looking at the feasibility and seeing whether this was something that the town should consider, then providing you guys with a time-phased approach for implementing and the steps that needed to occur to implement a consolidated center. So the project started out with interviews, and the first thing that we did was come and spend several days in the town interviewing police command staff, fire command staff, dispatch personnel, members in public works and marine and environmental services, to get an understanding of how dispatch worked today, what was going on, what was working well, where were there ideas for improvements from the different stakeholder perspectives, and to get their view of the idea of consolidating dispatch services and how they envision it would work for them and how it could work for the town. We also did an employee survey of the folks in the field in police and fire, since they're the primary users, to gain input from police and fire personnel in the field, and to allow them to provide input into the study. And the good thing about those surveys is then you can weigh it statistically. You can see how many people agree or disagree with a statement. And throughout the process, we kept the town involved in looking at interim reports, seeing where we were going, where our ideas were taking us, and kept them involved throughout the process. There were several key themes throughout the report, and a critical thing that's going on is that the CAD, which is the computer-aided dispatch, so when you call 911 and it goes to the county sheriff, and then they determine whether it's a police, a fire, or an ambulance emergency, and transfer that call to either the police dispatch or the fire dispatch, that information is entered into a CAD, and that then serves as the record of the call as the units are dispatched. So today, the police department has its own CAD, the fire department has its own CAD, and they don't talk. So if during your discussion with either the police dispatcher or the fire dispatcher, it's determined that you also need the other service. So say, they say there's a fight going on next door, and then more information reveals that, oh, and there's somebody injured and we also need an ambulance, then the police would have to transfer that call to fire, and they would have to re-enter all that information again. So both the CADs are currently toward the end of their useful life and are in need of replacement. So this is a good time to look at, okay, let's go with a single CAD that then they can talk to each other. If nothing else happened, at least you wouldn't have to duplicate that entering of information, because there would be a single CAD for both the services. Then we looked at how the operations are currently being conducted and found that there are definitely opportunities to consolidate, to enhance the operations, and to provide a higher level of service to the town. As I said, currently phone calls have to be transferred, people have to be transferred. There's that duplication of taking caller information, and you can imagine your frustration if it's your loved one that has been in this fight, and they're laid on the floor, and you've called and you've given this information to the police, and they say, hold on, let me transfer you to the fire department so that we can get an ambulance started, and they start asking you the same questions, like, where are you, and what's going on, and as the caller, you want the help to get there, not necessarily have to repeat the story several times. So by bringing it together, you have the efficiency of the story only having to be told once, and the center being able to immediately dispatch the appropriate units for that call at one time instead of on multiple occasions. One of the challenges that you have to face is, okay, where is this location, this dispatch center going to be housed? And a fully consolidated center would be larger than the operations you're currently doing, so you'd have to do some remodeling or relocating to a different center. So that's something that the town needs to consider. And in the report, there are a number of things that need to be considered for a dispatch center in terms of site security and different systems that need to be in the building to ensure the safety of the personnel working there and that the center can function effectively. So that is a consideration that'll have to happen with the town. And then looking at the totality of the situation of where the town is today, what things have happened, you're looking at about an additional 9 to 12 months to be able to get a consolidated center up and running. So when we went through and did the interviews with the personnel and looked at the existing conditions and reviewed opportunities, what we found is there were really 3 choices that the town could look at. And the first is maintaining the status quo. Keep doing what you're doing, separate operations under separate commands. It was going to be expensive because you're going to have to duplicate your purchase of technology, and you would maintain services as they currently exist, and you would still have the inefficiencies that exist with the way dispatch services are running today. Virtual consolidation, which is something new in usually areas that are serving a much larger geographic area than this, but what it allows is you get to combine the technology, such as the CAD and the radio, so that the 2 centers can talk to each other via the technology, and the information only has to be captured once. The official record of the call is there, and if a call needs to be dispatched from the other unit, from the other center, they can just push a button, the information populates, and they're able to more quickly dispatch the unit. A benefit of virtual consolidation is that you in essence have a backup center, a live backup center up and running all the time in the town. So if something happened at police dispatch and it failed and had a critical failure, you could move to the fire dispatch and it would be up and running, and vice versa. So it does give you the ability to have 2 separate live centers running at all times and reduce the likelihood of ever having a critical failure of your dispatch systems. Although it's important to note that the way those systems are built and the backups in place, critical complete failures of dispatch centers is rare. And then the final, which wound up being the recommendation, was the full consolidation, and that's moving the operations under one administration as a separate third city service to provide dispatch services for police, fire, marine and environmental services, and then after-hour service to public works. So when we looked at status quo, as I said, there are some benefits. The key is it doesn't take much effort. You just keep doing what you're doing. The police lobby, when you enter, serves as an access point for customers, and one of the concerns that the chief raised was that he didn't want a dark police station, so you walk in and there's nobody there. So that was something that had to be addressed as part of the consolidation, that he didn't want a dark lobby, especially during the busier tourist times of year, where there's people that aren't familiar with the town that frequent the police department more. The other benefit is that even if you maintain status quo, because the CAD systems are outdated, you can still go to a shared CAD and get some technology improvements through that. The issue is that you continue with those call processing delays that we talked about. You haven't improved the service to the customers, and you continue with a dispatching system that's more expensive than if you consolidated. On the virtual consolidation, a benefit is there, depending on how you train the personnel, there is the ability then to share dispatchers between the 2 centers. You can train them to be able to function in either center, and they'll already be familiar with the dispatching equipment and the CAD and the radios, because they'll be operating the same equipment in both centers and be able to easily transition from one center to the other. It requires little change for the dispatch employees other than learning the new CAD system when it's purchased, which is going to happen regardless. So any of the scenarios, you're going to wind up having to buy a new CAD anyway, and they're going to have to learn a new CAD. So that's something that's an ongoing theme. And as I said, it does allow for that additional backup facility, and then operations and how they're shared can be locally defined, so you can share more or less depending on which switches you flip on or off in the technology side of things. The issues with it is a lot of increased technology requirements to make the two centers to be able to talk and function together as well as independently. You don't get any personnel cost savings because you're still fully staffing two separately operating centers. It does require significant training of public safety personnel to make sure that they're able to function in both centers and be fully functional, much as that you'll occur with the full consolidation model. And the big thing is the cost. You're duplicating all that technology, so you've got two separate facilities, so you're maintaining two buildings, you're maintaining CAD consoles, you're maintaining your radio infrastructure, and all the things that go on with the dispatch center would be completely duplicated by going with a virtual technology. So it's very expensive on the technology side to take on this type of approach. And then there are personnel issues that can be complicated, including two different bargaining units and how that currently works as it does today. So in full consolidation, what you have is complete integration of the dispatch services. A benefit of that is, like I said, when the call gets transferred from the sheriff, it goes to one place. All required emergency service personnel, whether it's marine and environmental services and fire, or police and fire, or just police or just fire, can all be dispatched from one location, and the dispatchers are able to maintain contact with the emergency personnel. And that, again, improves the coordination on scene. I know last night you had a couple of working structure fires, and you saw some of the difficulties with multiple high emergency calls going on, critical life and property threats happening at the same time. And if you can bring all those services under one roof, the coordination of several incidents happening simultaneously and the personnel responding is greatly enhanced. You achieve technology, facility, and personnel costs because nothing is duplicated, and you're able to then staff each center according to workload demands instead of the way the police are staffed today. They always have two because you have to have two. Somebody could be dealing with a walk-up customer. Somebody could be answering the phone. You've still got to dispatch the calls and handle those different things. So it's not necessarily staffed for the workload demand. It's staffed by the fact that they need two seats staffed at all times. So the ability to staff by workload would be a great benefit for you. Also, they have a sworn police officer staffing one of the seats in the dispatch center at all times. That officer then can be put back into police operations to do work that the police department needs done, and the new center would be staffed solely by civilian dispatch personnel. And then also, as we talked about, there'll be improved service to marine and environmental services and public works, because instead of the calls going to whichever they believe is the primary service need and then finding out that the other service is needed and then trying to get a hold of them, there'll be one single point of contact. And then there'll also be enhanced collaboration on dispatch issues, because in this shared environment, the police chief, the fire chief, and your town administrator will all have a seat at a table to talk about public safety dispatching issues, and you won't have that biased lens from one service center to the other. They'll all have input and weight and be able to come up with what is the best public safety decision for the town, and not the best interest of fire or the best interest of police. So those things will be looked at collaboratively and will result in a lot better service to the community. The issues is, moving to this, you lose that locally staffed backup center. The way it works today and would continue to work is that the county sheriff is the backup center, so they are the primary public safety answering point. And then in the event your center failed, they would serve as your backup dispatch center. Again, as I said earlier, it's rare to have that kind of a catastrophic failure, but if your center did go down for a short period of time, that's the plans that are in place today, and they would just continue in place. And then there is that significant training, because you've got dispatch personnel today that are specialists in police dispatching and specialists in fire dispatching. So when you move toward opening the center, what you envision is that you would always make sure that one of those fire specialists and one of those police specialists are on duty, and they're learning as they grow, because what happens is once you flip that 911 switch and you tell the county when you hit transfer, this is where it goes, the other two centers have to go dark. It can't pick one of three spots. So you'll flip the switch one day and everything will go to the new center, but the best practice would be continue to staff each of the expert disciplines in there until everybody's fully trained and up to speed on the other disciplines, to make sure that there's no customer service level issues from the citizen's perspective. So as we went through it, you're looking at startup costs of approximately $1.1 million for the technology and the infrastructure that's needed for the centers, and that's the CAD, the radio upgrades, the different building systems that'll need to be put in place. It does not include any remodeling or refurbishing costs of a site, and that's because the exact location hasn't been determined yet, and you'd really need an architect to kind of firm up what needs to be done and what the costs are here locally, as opposed to kind of on a more national, global scale as we do. In your annual operating costs, currently you're spending around $890,000 a year. When you look at consolidating, that drops to around $724,000 a year. So your annual savings would be about $165,000 a year in annual operating costs. So the payback becomes pretty good over the long term in terms of the annual costs. And those savings are, you're not paying a sworn peace officer to do a civilian's job. You're able to staff according to workload instead of just the number of seats that need to be covered. And there's going to be considerably less overtime with the staffing model that's been developed as compared to what has to occur today with the use of a mixture of full-time and part-time. Kind of some immediate savings that you're going to see are saving money from not duplicating the purchase of the technology. So fire needs a new CAD today, police needs a new CAD today. Instead of buying two, you're going to be able to buy one for the same amount of money. And there's a lot of CAD vendors and a lot of software people that develop these computer-aided dispatch systems. And the key is for the chiefs to work together and see which one best meets the needs of this town and the types of incidents that you're running. The dispatching is a little different for police and fire. So, a fire call will say, if it's a commercial fire, send this unit, this unit, this unit, and this unit. And if they call for more units, then the next one's up, or this, and this. And for you guys, that would be surrounding towns and jurisdictions, where police is a 1 or a 2 unit car, and then they would ask for additional backup as they need it. So all the CADs can be programmed to do whatever they're going to need to ensure that their operations run as smooth as possible. So when you look at the staffing, we plan for a dispatch administrator, and that's a new position that's not currently funded. As it works today, you've got a police commander and a fire commander that are over dispatch. It's not their full-time sole functional assignment. They run it as part of their duties, and it gets kind of a part-time approach in both of the scenarios. This would give a full-time administrator focused on the 911 issues and public safety issues that are facing communications in the town. We also looked at developing a lead communication officer position, so that allows some growth in the center. So you start as a call taker or dispatcher, and then as you grow and develop, these lead communicators would act as working shift supervisors, for lack of a better term. So they're the lead person. They're in charge of the shift while they're there. They're making sure things are covered appropriately. They're doing quality assurance of the call processing and the dispatching to make sure that you're meeting these standards that are in place from police and fire in terms of how fast calls need to be answered, how quickly they need to be processed, and that the right units are being sent for the type of call. Also, you'll be saving those police officers, not in terms of cutting the positions, but in terms of reallocating them back to police operations to be used to handle police matters that need to be handled. And then you'll be moving from 7 full-time and 4 part-time to 6 full-time communication officers. So you can see your overall net full-time position stays the same. And depending on the exact schedule or how it works out, you may still need to keep some of the part-time folks available for vacation fill-ins and those types of things, but you wouldn't need the ongoing 20-plus hours a week coverage that you currently have. So when we developed the timeline for how this would work, typically you're looking at 18 to 24 months, but as we worked with the town and looked, there's a number of things that have already been started. So if you look at that, and I won't read the list to you, you guys are very capable of reading, but you'll see the first 5 issues or steps already have a star next to them, and those are things that the town is already working on. They've already begun working toward to get the center up. So really, once those first 5 happen, then you're moving into installing and testing your new technology purchases, training the personnel, and initiating the operations. So we think the 9 to 12 month goal is very doable, because a lot of the front end work has already been started, and you guys are making good progress toward getting the center going. So with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, questions?
I know it's late, I don't want to keep you all night.
I think we've had a few briefings on this over the last year, and I think I mentioned even at town meeting that this was a goal that the selectmen set for the town manager last year for this year, to develop this consolidated dispatch center. So we've been very much a part of the development of it.
I'd like to commend you for that. It's something that's, from a national perspective, is really happening, because as the technology continues to move forward, I mean, that cost driver is big. And then if you're in a position where you can, take those ongoing recurring costs and save money personnel-wise, it becomes a home run to
In your experience in doing this, would you say that the increased technology or the technology capability is what's really driving this for the most part? I mean, or at least allows it to make it happen?
That infrastructure cost has been a big driver for a lot of people, because there's 2 things that have really started coming on. One is enhanced 911, which is where centers are going to be capable of receiving text messages, and people can take pictures on their cell phone and say, I just saw this accident, send a picture. So centers are having to invest in technologies to be able to keep up with that. And then there's also a P25 radio compliance to move people into radios to free up more radio waves for cell phones and that type of technology, and get the police and fire and public safety radios off of that. And that's a multi-million-dollar hit. So it doesn't make sense to spend it several times if you can come together in a consortium and spend it as a group.
Sam?
Yeah, I did have a question that came up. For walk-in service, do you anticipate that people would go to the consolidated center, or would they still go to the fire department or police department if they have a question or an issue that they want to pursue?
Yeah, that's another thing where technology can work. A lot of centers, what they do is they put a phone. If you need assistance, you pick it up and automatically rings to the dispatch center. And if it's at the fire station, they can let the personnel in the station know there's somebody in the lobby. Same thing at police stations. A lot of police stations typically don't like to go completely dark until maybe late night hours. So they maintain somebody in the lobby as a presence. I know their lobby currently has records there, so that may serve as that Monday through Friday 8 to 5 lobby service, but there's usually a number of options that can be done locally to ensure that walk-in customers are still handled.
Attorney Moskos, yes.
This issue has come up in...
I have to ask you to use the microphone, yeah, thank you.
This issue has come up with us, and I want to speak for the police chief, and I'm sure he can amplify this. The police department will not be dark. It's always going to be staffed. And so this issue shouldn't be introduced into the discussion, and that the chief has made it clear that at no time will he ever close a station, and at no time will he not have personnel in the station to service the public. So on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis, anyone in Falmouth can go into the police station
and get assistance.
Okay, great. Doug?
I just also want to comment on, I mean, it's a very extensive report we've received from Matrix, but the very specific details as to what the requirements for the building are, I think are going to be very helpful as we move forward and figure out exactly the right location for it. And to have this information coming from our consultant on that, I think is going to be very, very useful.
Any other questions? No? Chiefs, you have any comments? No? Mr. Suso?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple comments to thank and acknowledge Robert Finn and his colleagues at Matrix. We went through a very significant procurement process many months ago in selecting an appropriately qualified vendor, which obviously Matrix is. They've done this work in many settings across the country and have a great deal of experience in this area. And as Mr. Finn has mentioned, also spent a great deal of time working with our local personnel in both police, fire, marine and environmental services as well, and public works in determining the needs of the town and basing that upon their experience nationally in terms of what is our most cost-effective approach. So we appreciate very much the level of the analysis and your presentation, Mr. Finn, on behalf of your other colleagues at Matrix, and also want to acknowledge the great work on the teams in police, fire, public works, and marine environmental services. I know our deputy MES director, Chuck Martinson's with us here this evening as well for another purpose, but MES also has an involvement in this, and we appreciate that as well. So we look forward to taking the next steps. As the board will recall, town meeting has authorized a significant sum of money for equipment replacement, and the work continues on the most appropriate location of this consolidated communication center, and we'll be providing some spreadsheet information to the Board of Selectmen on that in the weeks to come as we look forward to narrowing down reasonable, cost-effective options there and coming to appropriate closure. Again, our target is January of 2016 for a cutover, and we're working diligently in that direction with on many fronts, including collective bargaining, which is, as we've noted, has been underway for some time as well. So I have a lot of folks to thank, and also this Board of Selectmen for your clear direction on moving the town forward in a clearly a cost-effective way, as demonstrated by this very detailed report, and really from the standpoint of Cape Cod, you're on the cutting edge of the direction to wisely spend taxpayers' money on this extremely important public safety service. So my thanks to everyone involved and the board as well. And Madam Chair, just as a reminder, the Matrix report that has been presented to the board, we will be posting on the town website, and welcome anyone's review and any questions that might be forthcoming as a result. And it will be utilized and further articulated in the months to come.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? No? Everybody good? Well, thank you very much. Mr. Finn? Thank you. Attorney Moskos and Chiefs?
Good luck in your flight.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now it's up to the weather.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, the next item on our agenda is to authorize the town manager to submit a final license application for Nobsco Lighthouse to the United States Coast Guard. I see we have some people here tonight who have been part of the Nobsco effort. Charlie McCaffrey and Mary Harris. Did either of you want to comment on this? Or Catherine?
Catherine.
Madam Chair, you want me to make a
Sure,
couple
go
introductory
ahead.
comments, and then I welcome Catherine, Charlie, Mary, making additional comments at any point. The board will recall that several months ago, when this originally came to our attention, that the U.S. Coast Guard was going to be accepting notification of interest in licensing the Nobsco Light. You had authorized me as town manager to act on your behalf to indicate, make an expression of interest, which we obviously did, for potentially receiving licensing through the U.S. Coast Guard for Knobska Light, managing that operation, and really in an extraordinary step, which I think is so incredibly indicative of the kind of community that Falmouth is. We had 4 of our nonprofit organizations, 3 of which are represented clearly here tonight, that being the Falmouth Historical Society, Historical Highfield, Inc., the Woods Hole Historical Museum, and the Woods Hole Community Association collaborated in the creation of a new 501c3 deemed Friends of Knobska Light, and the purpose being to collaborate in managing the resource, meaning the Knobska Light and its property and environments, to ensure public access, enjoyment, and education in that regard. And it really resulted in a series of weekly meetings, only some of which I was able to attend, although I think the majority of which, but clearly the heavy lifting was on the part of the individuals in this room and many others of our colleagues who so ably dedicate their time on behalf of the community for the betterment of the community and all the positives that go with it. I know this Board of Selectmen is fully knowledgeable of that as well. And were it not for their stepping up and their steadfast work, we would not have the proposal, the multi-page proposal that we presented to the board this evening in written form, and that we would propose to transmit. I, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, and working in partnership with these 4 incredible organizations and the people involved in them, to really step up in from a standpoint of stewardship to license Knobska Light. I should underscore that we are not the only organization that has indicated an interest in this, so this is not a guarantee or a slam dunk, and therefore the hard work that is represented in this licensing proposal, we are guardedly optimistic will pay dividends, but there are no guarantees, and we will work closely with the Coast Guard and present it to you in that spirit. So we would, I should also underscore that the model for pursuing this, and this will be familiar to the board, is essentially the Highfield model, as we call it. As the board knows, the town owns Highfield Hall and its grounds, but we have a management agreement with Historic Highfield, Inc. that manages that phenomenal property on behalf of the town. This would be a similar approach, although this is a licensing and not an ownership model with Knobska Light in its grounds. But we would similarly work with, again, the Friends of Knobska Light, who put together this remarkable proposal that includes fundraising, it includes community collaboration, and for which they've already been able to achieve the fruits of some donations to date, even though they've not been formally solicited, which I think is a very strong indication of the, really the love of this community icon by so many individuals and entities in the community that bodes well for the success of this initiative. And having said possibly more than I needed to, I would welcome any of our colleagues in the audience who worked so tirelessly in this regard to make any additional comments in furtherance of our efforts. Catherine, Charles, or Mary, one or all?
None of us want to say anything because we want you just to say yes.
Well, I just want to say that I think this application is incredible. It is so well done. Truly, I'm just so impressed with the work that you've done.
So for that, you have to thank Mary and Charlotte
I
Harris.
could see Mary's
they've put a
Mary's
ton
hand
of work
in a lot
into
of
it.
this.
Their fingerprints were all over it.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
What struck me is how doable it seems.
Yes.
And that's what concerned me as to really where are we going to be able to do this. And the deadline for this is pretty soon, so we would also know whether the other organization gets their application in by the deadline too. And if they don't,
Correct.
that's another big plus for us to be able to make sure we get this.
So really, thank you. If there's anything you'd like changed, we are willing to talk about changes. You have the application, and you also may have gotten the link that is the addenda, which is actually 150 pages of background on the organizations and the historic preservation. When you put together all the historic preservation capabilities that these groups bring together, it's a huge amount, and it's really wonderful to see it all documented in one place and to see the town's commitment to historic preservation in one place.
And certainly the way it's worded, it's very clear that the CPC is available as a source to receive more funds for it.
Okay. Anyone care to make a motion?
I would move that we authorize the town manager to submit the final license application for Knobsco Lighthouse to the United States Coast Guard with enthusiasm.
Any further discussion? Sam?
No, second.
No? Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Great job, really. You did
Thank you.
It's really great.
It's impressive.
Very much so.
We will have this transmitted yet this calendar year to the Coast Guard and anxiously await the outcome. So again, my thanks to all that have worked so tirelessly. We'll put the final touches on this and go forward with great enthusiasm and await the outcome.
Great, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chuck Martinson is here. We have a request to authorize temporary amendment to the shellfish regulations to increase the oyster catch, since we have a lot of oysters. Is that right?
We do.
More than we thought, huh?
And
We
big
do.
ones.
Thank you for having me this evening. I'll be as brief as I can. Starting October 1st, we opened West Falmouth Harbor, the family area, as well as the entire harbor. In the family area specifically, we had a large amount of oysters that were planted there they were grown as part of the Little Pond demonstration project. I know Selectwoman Moran was there for that opening day. It was well attended. There were about 70 or 80 people, maybe even more than that.
All with smiles, all listening to your instructions, and yeah, it was a terrific event.
It was wonderful, and we hope to make that an annual event. And after that, it was there were many benefits that came from that. There were a number of people that came in and purchased shellfish licenses from the town, and certainly there were young and old there who learned how to get oysters and other shellfish as well. As a result of the work that was done at Little Pond, and subsequently in West Falmouth, there is a tremendous amount of oysters that are over there right now. There's in fact so many that the demand for the family permit holders will not meet the amount of oysters that we essentially have over there. At this point, we have so many oysters that I'm actually nervous that if we don't open it up to a little bit of a broader harvest, that we could actually lose a number of oysters over the winter. And for the purposes of the nutrient reduction, it's really the last piece in the kind of circle is actually taking them out of the water. So we need to do that to get that last piece done. The proposal that we've worked on in conjunction with the Little Pond project manager, as well as Matt Weeks, our fisheries technician, is to go ahead and open this area up commercially, a limited area commercially for 12 days. I'm just losing my voice here in the process of it, so please excuse me, which would be through the end of December through the middle of January. At this point, the markets are very warm to oysters. They pick right up at the end of the season, at the end of just after Thanksgiving. We've spoken with local buyers as well. There is quite a demand. As a side note, I was in a fish market last Friday, and there were Wellfleet oysters, there were Chatham oysters, there were Green Pond oysters, and there were West Falmouth oysters, all being sold for the same price in the same exact cooler. So we're up at the plate right now, and we're batting pretty well. And we're excited for it.
That's great.
So without further delay, we would request these 12 days be open. I have a document that should have been circulated through the board. I don't know if there's any questions.
Any questions of Chuck? No?
Smart idea, and as you say, it closes the loop. And I have this silly grin on my face because I can't get the image of Vicki Lolan waiters out of it. Really was young and old, and a great source of education, and for everyone to see how it runs full circle. It was great.
Okay, so a motion.
I move that we amend the shellfish regulations by opening the West Falmouth family area to commercial oyster fishing on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays between December 16th.
Saturdays.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from December 16th to January 17th, excluding Christmas and New Year's Day.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks.
And then our next item, the last item, almost, is to approve an application for grant funding to replace a pump-out boat. Is that you, Chuck? Do you want to mention that? Talk about that? Sure. We've received all the information from you. Huh?
Be pinch hitting for Greg this evening.
Yeah, okay.
We have a pump-out boat which is funded through a state grant. It's funded at 75%. The purchase of the boat, the initial purchase of the boat was at 75%, and the annual operating costs are funded at 75%. At this point, there are a number of issues which Greg outlined in a memo to the board. A number of issues with the boat, with both the superstructure and the fuel situation on board. Greg has approached the state for a replacement. The replacement would cover 75% of the cost of the boat. In addition, there is the continued $9,500, which would be funded to have a pump-out boat operator for the town, which would be the 75% covered by the state. This is a request to move forward with that grant and continue the pump-out program, which actually dovetails with the shellfish and the nutrients and all the other things that, if there's
Questions?
any specific questions or not.
For Chuck, in answering for Greg. Sam?
You indicated that we already have the grant?
We already have a pump-out boat, which
Yeah, no,
we've operated for a number of years. Yeah, so the grant already exists right now. The annual operating grant is a continued grant. It's part of the clean.
Thanks, that was my
vessel.
A motion?
I move approval of the application for grant funding for the replacement of the pump-out boat.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. You'll let him know.
I will.
You will let him know. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and our last item is to approve the 2015 annual license renewals.
I would note that we do have a note from the police department saying that they have no problems with any of these renewals of licenses. And if so allowed, I would move that we approve the licenses as we have listed.
Second.
Any discussion, Sam?
I have a question. In the recommendation from the police, it did not include the Class 3 used car dealers, the limousines, the taxis, and the vehicles for hire. Is that required? Do we expect them to provide a recommendation for those three categories?
For which ones?
Limo?
Class 3 used car dealers, limousines, taxis, and vehicles for hire. Is this just an oversight?
That's true, they did not make a recommendation on page 3.
Right.
I think,
Are there any, are there
there's
any issues
really-
that we know of?
are you
I'm not aware of any issues in regard to them.
to those licenses?
This is the first time I've seen a list from the police department supporting the renewals.
Yeah, me too.
And we
This is-
renewed licenses for the past 2 or 3 meetings.
I don't have any suspicions. I mean, it seems like the kind of businesses that don't really necessarily have any kind of complaints.
Well, I think
associated.
if there were, they would probably notify us, if they have in the past.
Yes.
When there have been issues, say with any of the limousine services or the taxis, the police department has always notified us of those issues, and we've had to work them out.
In particular, ones
So-
I'm concerned about, there have been some restaurants that had some issues this summer.
And they are yet to come up.
And they're
haven't-
not on these
They're
lists
not on any
yet.
of these lists yet. yeah. So, we have a motion and a second?
We do.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And now we have individual selectmen's reports, but the chief is here, and I know you probably have him here for a reason, but I want to thank him for all the work he and his department have done dealing with the fires we've had recently, particularly the ones at the stump dump and the Bry Vogel property. And then we don't know all that much about last night, but you're probably going to tell us about that. But I just wanted to start out by saying that, and then the town manager will bring it up later. But anything that anyone wants to report on? Sam and I attended the spelling bee at the Morse Pond School.
That was fun.
We Sam was there on Thursday, I went on Friday and participated in 2 spelling bees from 10 to noon, and it was absolutely a blast. It was so much fun. But I have to say that when I was in the 6th grade, I was in the National Spelling Bee, actually in Washington DC. They hold it in the Department of Commerce auditorium. And they had suspended the spelling bee during World War II. I mean, really dating myself here. But after World War II, they started it up again, and I happened to be in the 6th grade at that point, so I happened to be in one of the first spelling bees after the war. And I didn't win, obviously, but the word I misspelled was guttural. So in case you know how to spell it, that's great. You should be in a spelling bee. If you don't know how to spell it, you're in the same position I was in when I was in 6th grade, so.
Although
But that's why I thought it was so much fun.
Didn't they ask you to spell it?
And they asked me to spell that word because I had told them that. So that
got it
was
right
one
this
of the
time.
words I had to spell, and I got it right this time. Anyway, it was fun. Sam, do you want to?
I'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
It was, and then, of course, there's the Christmas parade that we participated in.
Christmas
Those of us
parade,
that-
right.
And it was such fun to wave to little children on the side particularly and see all those other familiar faces from adults here in the community. But it's not something I would have gone and done spontaneously, but I have to say that it was a lot of fun doing it. So I have a different appreciation for it. Maybe I can tag on? Do you want?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah, because these are selectmen's reports.
Yeah, I did attend the school committee's budget subcommittee, and they're preparing their budget for the FY16 budget year, so lots of discussions on their part, and also looking at capital budget and forecasting as well to complement the operational budgets. Also went to the Concom hearing on the 3rd and the CPC meeting last week. That's Community Preservation Commission meeting on Thursday of last week. And then, I guess that's it. Thanks.
Anybody else? I wanted to mention that I went up to Highfield for the Highfield Christmas, and I have never seen Highfield look as beautiful as it did this week with the Christmas decorations. They were absolutely amazing. And of course, we had a Santa at Highfield for several days. And in fact, if I didn't know that he was being Santa, I wouldn't have recognized him in the Santa suit. But the kids had a great time. The other thing I want to remind you is the Cape Cod Selectmen and Counselors Association next meeting is this Friday at 7:30 a.m. at the Daniel Webster Inn. And it's on wastewater. It's on the 208. And the title is Who is Going to Be in Charge? So if you haven't seen the notice yet, just so you know as a reminder. Anybody else? I'll turn it over to the town manager for his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our work continues on the FY16 budget. More to come in the very near future on that to members of the board. Also, I want to echo the board's comments in compliment to Chamber of Commerce and all the merchants and certainly residents and business people and all others involved in the annual Christmas parade yesterday. The lighting of the town common Saturday evening, even though we had pretty soggy conditions. Everything went forward as usual, and the holidays are right on schedule to arrive as anticipated. So all is well, and Falmouth certainly is looking at its best. And Peter McConerty, our town engineer, I think made some similar positive comments, and certainly very appropriately so. So it's just a delight to see all that unfold and see our community at its best with so many people so involved at this time of the year. Also, as you noted, Madam Chair, I appreciate Fire Chief Mark Sullivan joining us this evening. Asked Mark if he could give an update, a report to the board on the Brightvogel mulch fire there that was so unusual and protracted, and we've talked about that a little bit recently, and given the board periodic updates on it. But I appreciate the chief being here to comment on it further, and the board may have some questions for him as well. Chief, if you want to jump in, you're welcome. Thank you.
Oh. We have pictures.
Yeah.
I remember the first morning I went to the fire, and I drove up Thomas Landers Road, which I do like every day. Yes. And I thought, where is all this smoke coming from? Yes. And this was early in the morning.
We might want to turn down the lights just a bit, give us a little better rendition. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me tonight. The manager asked me to stop and give an update on this fire, and it was rather a unique fire, and I'm sure as a select board you may have received numerous complaints about the smoke in the area. And we also fielded many complaints, but I just want to let the board know that we did do everything that was possible to extinguish this fire. It lasted almost 2 weeks. I mean, it's not abnormal in the situation. I'm not sure if folks are familiar with the facility out there, but it's a blacksmith shop farms where they sell mulch and sell loom, and they also pile stumps and wood product to save. And over a 5-year period or so, they turn that into what they sell. And that's where the fire was burning. It wasn't just burning on the top of it, or it would have been easy. It would have been in and out of there for a day. So on the 18th of November, we got the first call, and we went out there with a still alarm, which is one fire engine, one brush breaker with about 4 firefighters, and attempted to put the fire out with the help of Mr. Brightvogel. And he also, he has a couple of machineries, small bulldozers with wheels, and an excavator, and we were using that. So for about 2 days, we used that tactic, actually for 3 days. And we thought we might have had the fire licked. It seemed to go out, and then the next morning, you ride by, and the flames would be burning up again through the ground. It was just very, very crazy. And the piles he has out there are 30 or 40 feet high, and it's just burning underneath. It's decomposing like it's supposed to, I suppose. But after 3 days, we thought we had it. We left some of our hydrant hooked up. We changed our tactics because the first day or two we had a line across Blacksmith Shop Road, which unfortunately the hydrants were on the opposite side of the street, and that caused us to have to block the road, which caused a lot of traffic problems. We were in communication with the schools to let them know with the buses to take alternate routes. Yes?
Chief, if you put that on full view, it'll probably be better for the viewing audience as well as us.
Oh, okay.
You can see that screen symbol that's at the bottom, just 3 to the right of where that yellow square is. Move up. Look, just one to the right. To the right. One more. That's looking better anyway.
How about way over to the right?
Way over to the right. Yeah, way over to the right. Yep.
Yeah, oh yeah, right in the corner. See this?
There you go.
The screen right there? That's it.
Oh, you did.
The one before that. Well, that's bigger anyway, so that's
Sorry,
good.
that looks much better.
I mean, and I'm hoping you can see, but after 3 days, we thought we had it. In fact, we didn't We left our equipment out there, we left the line hooked up for Mr. Breivogel to try and attempt to keep an eye on it, and it ended up flaring back up again. So after, I think it was on the 24th or so, we started to see a fire like this. We said we have to do different tactics, we have to try something a little more aggressive. So we met with Mr. Breivogel, and they ended up getting some other heavy-duty equipment, heavier, like dozers, D8s, D9s with tracks, and a couple excavators. So between that and us with our large streams, we did change our tactics. We put a line up through Thomas Landers Road through the woods. It was a little more difficult to get through there, but we were trying to do it not to bother the traffic flow. So it worked out well. It was a great effort between him providing the folks, our people putting some long days out there. One day after this first aggressive attack, we had mutual aid companies come in. In a couple of days, we actually had them cover our stations while the majority of our day personnel were out there fighting the fire. The Red Cross was out there on numerous days, providing nourishment for the people that were out there. So it was a good joint effort. We estimate, we couldn't put a meter on it, but we estimate we probably utilized about 5 million gallons of water. I mean, you look at some of these large aerial, these devices are putting out like 750 gallons a minute. So it adds up quick, but there was really no other way to put it out. You see that one on the right, and that's when you think the fire's out, the bulldozers start pushing. When you see the black smoke, that means it's a hot spot. So it's just been burning. I think it's been burning for years underneath. And finally, the last day was, Thanksgiving Day. We couldn't get the heavy equipment operators working, so we just let it sit and keep calm. Unfortunately, that was a very overcast day. The smoke was low that day. We did receive a lot of calls. And then on the 28th and the 29th, we went out and finally we had a complete extinguishment. Just probably about 3 acres that were going, and it was a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, but I don't think there was any other way we could have done it. And we've done some research. There are fires like this. There are regulations regarding these kind of yards, and they're primarily for the mulch areas. If you've been in this yard, the mulch that he sells is off to the left. This is the stuff to the right where he keeps piles. And we are actually meeting with the state fire marshal and the property owner this week or very soon, early next week, to go over the regulations to make sure they're in compliance and to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. We have submitted a bill to the property owner to get reimbursement, which we're hoping to get some reimbursement for some of the costs that the town is associated with this event. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Is that covered under insurance at all, do you think?
I hope so.
You hope so?
For his sake, we're hoping so. He's a good business, had that business for a long time, provides good service for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just...
Well, is his business gone? I mean, is it...
No, but that put a good dent in him. I mean, we sent him a bill. He had all those heavy machineries out there, weren't his. So I'm sure those were very costly to have those in there all day.
But he couldn't continue the business.
No, he can continue. He still has mulch and loam that are already processed on the left side of the property. But I think he closes down for the winter for a couple months, he said, anyhow, and does work inside himself.
While he's closed, is there someone there keeping an eye on it just to be sure it's not smoldering underneath again?
We will monitor, and that's one of the regulations is in a mulch pit, that they're supposed to have a water source available. You only have to have it, and a lot of it's common sense. Instead of having one huge unmanageable pile like he had,
yeah.
Now, in the future, we'll break that up into, say, 4 or 5 manageable piles. That way, if we do have an incident, when you're decomposing, it's naturally going
right. Makes sense.
You have a potential spontaneous combustion. But if we do this in manageable piles, where we had area we could work and pull it apart, we wouldn't have had an event this size.
Right.
Did it require mutual aid at all?
Oh, it did.
It did.
On numerous days, we had quite a bit of help. I mean, one day we had mutual aid helping us out in the burn area. But on the other days, probably 3 or 4 of the days, when we couldn't get sufficient people, they were covering, either Otis, Bourne, and Mashpee were covering some of our stations.
Oh, I see.
And doing some of our runs for us. And just to, if you don't mind, the fire last night, somebody
Oh,
mentioned that?
yes.
Please.
That is, there was 2 fires, separate fires. One was definitely incendiary fire, the other one's still under investigation. It's a good chance they could be connected, but we're investigating that. We have the fire department investigators, the police, the local police, the state police, and the ATF.
So you haven't been able to determine the cause yet of either one?
No.
No.
I mean, one was incendiary, it was open, just an open flame. It's just somebody with a lighter or a match, but that was pretty obvious.
You did a fine job on Channel 7.
Oh, thank you. We had, then that went to a second alarm fire. We also had, there was an incident prior to that was caused. There was a Code 99 incident during that event, which is a significant, somebody stopped breathing. So there was a lot of runs. We had a lot, again, mutual aid, a lot of help from the surrounding towns. And our firefighters did a great job because we had to evacuate a couple of the buildings next to them. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the fabric corner. There's a few small residential.
Right.
buildings. And because the way the wind was whipping pretty early this morning, it was going in that direction. So they did a good
And how
job.
about the dollar store? That didn't affect the neighboring businesses?
A couple of the neighboring
Couple?
businesses were affected because of water damage.
Oh,
Because the sprinkler system activated, which was good. Even though it's good, it stopped the fire, but it did cost a little bit, yeah.
so they had significant damage from the water probably, huh?
Yes, there was very small fire damage. But that store, and I think the one to Verizon and the Petco also received minor water damage.
Mhm. Did their sprinklers go off too?
No, just the affected heads where the actual fire was. And that was noticed, we were at the fire, that fire alarm box came in through our municipal fire alarm system. But we were tied up with the fire, so we had Otis, which was one of the mutual aid companies coming in to cover our station. They diverted over there, and they found that.
Wow. Busy weekend.
So it was. But I want to assure you, I mean, Blacksmith Shop Farm, that was it was a tough thing. It was a lot of long days out there, but we were doing what we could do to extend.
And we appreciate the updates too.
Yeah.
I found them, it was really valuable because the press would call and other people would ask, and it was good to be able to respond.
Well, I mean, we're not just going to do that. We know actually the town has a stump dump,
Right.
what we call a stump dump. Allenby has a stump dump out in East Falmouth. So we're going to visit all these 3 to make sure. We've been to Allenby's for a few times, for a few fires, but nothing significant like this. But we want to ensure that this doesn't happen.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chief, very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
For all the firefighters that work for you,
Yes.
with you.
I will.
Right, is there anything else to come before the board? If not, a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are done.